Let me find us.
All right.
I'm looking. Oh, shoot. What the heck happened there? Okay. Oh, I see us.
Good. Hear us? Good.
I hear
We
us.
have audio.
I see us. I found us.
Good.
And now that my monitor is ready to go, let me get my inviting
Okay. Should I start
fingers
the music?
ready. Yes, sir. Please do. That's not 3 minutes, is it?
Nope.
It's not. Okay, good. It's still. I was like, oh my god, it's over already? Really?
I can start it again if you want.
No. Nah. Just gonna do a few more clickety clicks and boom.
Oh, all right.
Okay. Do you want to guess what letter?
C.
No, E.
Oh, good.
That's pretty good, huh?
Yep.
Okay, so for the rest of that, folks, I'm going to have to invite friends in because I've just run out of time.
That's right.
So I'm continuing my series here. If you've been following, if you've been paying attention, we started talking about disaster vultures on my last show last week. And I want to continue that conversation. We're going to probably have this Puerto Rico part is going to come in 2 pieces because there's so much information I have for you. So let's get started with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
On a Mexican crossing lines, you're listening to 88.1 FM KPPP Fargo Moorhead, where we're adding local color to your airwaves. You can also find all of our past shows, including Disaster Vultures, which was the last one from a week ago.
Yep.
Plus previous shows that kind of have been following this line of news, including Kavanaugh in the age of Me Too, Unholy Alliances, Grifter Drifter, DC Influence, Fake Progressive Agendas, which I will be sharing the links for in today's show. So get ready, folks. Put your thinking cap on for this one, because I'm going to be making a lot of connections on tonight's show, and I want you all to follow along with me so you can keep track of where these disaster vultures are going, have been, and will be in the future.
Yep.
And today I'm going to cover some of the past show to kind of bring you back into the flow of the story, including the present news, what we've been covering in the past, like the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings.
Oh, yeah.
Where are we now? How does any of that pertain to what I'm going to be talking about today? Just hold on to your hats. But first, I want to thank you guys for sending information that is relative to our programming, and also for supporting the work of this station, because we are completely viewer and listener supported. Duke, how can folks get hold of us?
Well, I'm going to go through the different ways you can. One of the easiest ways, if you want to just give us a call and leave a message at our message line, it's right on your screen there, 701-566-0917. That's 701-566-0917. You can call us and leave us a message about 3 minutes long. It's something we could use on the air. Sometimes people say, go ahead and use this on the air, and we'll put it on the air. Just want to talk to us that way. If that's not your thing, you can do email, Cindy@kpppfm.com, or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. And on Facebook, obviously you can follow us at 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead. You can send us, or through Messenger, you can send information and attachments through there. We also have a couple of other Facebook sites, the People's Press Project and Mexi-Can. And as Cindy mentioned, that we have our our website at kpppfm.com. That's where we store all of the audio and the video files. We're uploading our videos now to YouTube, so you have a high-definition video you can rewatch, and it's not contingent on Facebook. And it's just independent of that because Facebook is always forever changing and changing how our videos go out, who can see them, those sorts of things. So we want to make sure that the videos are basically connected to our webpage at kpppfm.com. And also, as Cindy mentioned, we're a nonprofit, non-commercial radio station. We broadcast in the Fargo Moorhead community up here in North Dakota, Minnesota, and our reach is the whole city around here. And we are supported by listeners. We're supported by people in the community. We're supported by people even on Facebook who watch us on Facebook who want to support our show. Since we're a nonprofit, a real 501c3 federally recognized nonprofit, and we're incorporated both in Minnesota and North Dakota, you are given a tax-deductible contribution when you make a contribution to us. So you can write it off on your taxes. And it's totally legit. And tonight we'll be going over some organizations that don't have that stuff set up, and they're disaster vultures, and you really have to watch for that. As a nonprofit, there's a GuideStar, we're on GuideStar, we need to put more information up, but pretty much we are on GuideStar. So GuideStar is one way of looking up nonprofits, find out if they're legit. You can go to the IRS and look them up there too. You'll find us in both places. But anyways, if you would like to make a donation, go to kpppfm.com/donate to make a tax-deductible donation so we can continue our programming, pay for our station's upkeep, and we're all volunteers here. There's no one here that is a vulture. And we do appreciate all the information people have sent us. Sometimes it takes us a while to get to it, so we do appreciate it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to start off by acknowledging today what we've been talking about. I think for a lot of people, the last couple of weeks, starting with the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings, and then ending with the actual confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, has been a blow to women in general. And it's kind of left people reeling, having a lot of really important conversations about why women would vote against their own self-interest. Why would anyone like Senator Susan Collins and the Democrat Manchin
Right.
vote against their own interests and put into power in the highest court in the land a man who's been accused of sexual assault and involvement in gang rapes.
Yes.
I mean that's what happened,
Mm-hmm.
and he was confirmed.
Yeah, it's been a really, really tough couple of weeks here. And you mentioned the Democrats. What are they called? Democrats? Democrats. Yes, that's what they are. And there's an election coming up. And it's been really hard to sit on the edge of the seat, waiting to see what's going to happen and getting your hopes up that this isn't going to happen. That this guy wasn't going to get confirmed. And he has. And this is getting worse and worse and worse with people's responses and their justifications for doing this, and just sliding on by and going on to the next thing. And right now, Congress has recessed. They went ahead and put 15 federal judges in without debate and just automatically, and then left town. And they're all going home in the campaign instead of really looking at our judicial system, which they don't give a rip about. So these elections will be really important, but at the same time, I've been around long enough to know that when the Democrats have power, they don't do anything. And, there's all this hope and promise. And it's just been very disgusting and very hard to go through these days.
It has. I mean, it has made people physically sick. I know that I was one of those people. But I also wanted to say that, we don't understand how to talk about this. And there's a reason for that. And I think that it's important for us to have that conversation today. Because in this era of the Me Too movement, where we have seen powerful men like Harvey Weinstein and Les Moonves lose their jobs, and celebrity icons like Bill Cosby go to jail for something that happened a long time ago. Mm-hmm. You heard people saying, well, this accusation against Brett Kavanaugh happened 36 years ago. Some of the accusations that were brought up against Bill Cosby came from a long time ago, decades ago as well. He's still going to jail. And this happened during the confirmation hearings that Bill Cosby was sentenced and sent to jail. The contrast of what was going on at the national level with the Supreme Court nomination and what was happening in the bowels of justice with the Cosby hearings was, such a stark contrast. But men like Trump and Kavanaugh, they have defied informed consent and they've gotten their way. One becoming the president of these United States and the other becoming a Supreme Court justice. Trump and Kavanaugh come from places of power and wealth. And here I have a meme that I saw circulating where they've got Trump and Kavanaugh standing at the podium, and it said, "We investigated ourselves and found that we are completely innocent of all charges." And in fact, during the confirmation process, after he was sworn in as a judge and it was announced to the media in a press conference, the president had the audacity to say that he was proven innocent when there was no hearing.
Yeah, well,
there was no trial.
No trial. There was not a trial.
And there's this presumption of due process. I've heard idiot talking heads in the media saying this over and over and over. There was no trial. Why are you talking about due process? Why are you talking about it as if he was tried and could have been convicted? Because that never happened. He wasn't even fully investigated by the FBI. He wasn't even questioned in that sham of an FBI investigation that took place.
Yep.
And Trump and Kavanaugh come from places of power and wealth where men are destined for greatness. It's their destiny. It is their blood right. They are destined to attain wealth and to attain power. And in their world, nothing short of death can derail them from their goal of power and fame. And up until the Me Too movement, it appeared that nothing would not stop any man. Nothing would have gotten them convictions. That's something we still don't have, but at least a loss of their job, some kind of public shaming. Up until the Me Too movement of these past recent years, it didn't matter whether a man was accused of some kind of sex crime. They usually went unpunished.
Yeah.
So what I feel that we need to talk about is why that is still true. Why is that still happening? And the reason I believe that is the case is because we do not care about informed consent.
Yeah.
We do not make sure that there is informed consent. And I'm not just talking about sex here. I'm talking about, do we have choices as human beings in a relationship, whether we're just having a conversation, whether we're in a friendship or we're in a contract or some kind of agreement when we're working together as colleagues or partners in life. Do we care about informed consent? Do men know what real consent is? Do they understand what consent is? And do they care enough about making sure that they have consent in every aspect of their relationships to women? That they understand what the breakdown is, what happens in a relationship over time when they don't get it? Because that is what we need to talk about. I was sharing, I think it was a Twitter or could have been Instagram or Tumblr post with my kids about a woman saying that she had decided that she was no longer going to tell men when they were mansplaining something to her. Oh, that's very interesting. Tell me more about that. Mm-hmm. She said she was going to start simply saying to them, I know. And she said that the response to that, because men are not concerned with consent, they're not concerned with making sure that there is a parity of ideas, an exchange of equal time in a conversation, the equal treatment of peers between men and women, such that she said some men became extremely annoyed and others went into a full rage because she said, I know, rather than coddle them. And she realized that men are so coddled in their everyday interactions with women at every level that a woman not coddling them just throws their entire worldview into chaos.
Yeah.
And they're like, they can't function. That's how much we don't talk about consent. Mm-hmm. And informed consent is something that America needs to understand. If you're going to understand why we continue to have this rampant rape culture and what you can do about it if you really care, rather than how we have these conversations now where men just throw up their hands and go, will we ever know what to do about this? No, I guess not.
Yep. It's
the same thing that we've done about gun control. It's the same thing that we have done about eradicating police brutality and racism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know.
I see the similarities with systemic racism because we have systemic patriarchal power in our society. And, even that we have to talk about consent. It means that there never has been consent.
Exactly.
And, and individually we can work on this, but it's not going to dismantle it in the systems. I mean, that's why Judge Kavanaugh can be confirmed to the Supreme Court, even though that he's basically a rapist, from what I've seen. Mm-hmm. And there's enough evidence, enough women continually coming out to talk about what his behavior when he was younger. And I'm sure there's some stuff that is more recent that's being hidden. And yet he gets confirmed. And, so it's embedded in our institutions, and it needs to change. And changing the laws, changing the punishments, and changing those things are going to help to then deal with people's individual issues. And, so it's got to be done simultaneously. It's not just about you and I and our relationship. It's about our whole society and the institutions that basically create our society. And those things need to be dismantled and changed too. And like I said, it's just, when I grew up in an era where Cindy and I couldn't even be married, that biracial relationships were illegal. Now they're legal, supposedly, and yet, our experiences that we're a banned couple, and when it comes to multiracial marriages, there's usually only a small percent of people that get married are mixed marriages, and out of those, only 25%, only 1 out of 4 actually survive. So it's very difficult because of the societal issues, So I think it's very similar when it comes to patriarchy. And male supremacy is so embedded, and the men don't want to change it because we benefit from it so greatly. So why do you want to change it? And if there's no punishment, really, you just keep on doing the behavior, and you teach it to other men. So it's really a bad thing that's going on. But we can do something. We can continually work on this. We can continually support people at higher levels to change things, and then also ourselves do our best to change. As men, we need to change the way we do things, the way we see things, and the way we act. And we have to relearn a lot of stuff because we have no tools. We have no capacity to have good, nurturing relationships. Never been taught to us. We've never had to do it.
And because you don't have to listen to women, you're not forced to listen to women or under the authority of women, there is a complete disconnect. And people can say the awful things that they said about Dr. Blasey Ford, that she should have come forward sooner, that she should have reported it to the police, that she should have.
Oh, yeah.
And, interestingly, I should have grabbed the link and added it to our show links. Nemo, if he can miraculously find the article I'm talking about right now online, we'll put it in the links. But I was just reading to you from this article last night where they were talking about the Minnesota cases that were investigated recently by a local paper, where they looked at the last year, I think, or the last 5 years. I can't remember what period of time of reported rapes and what did they do. In the majority of the cases, no investigation was done. The rapes reported, these are the ones reported to the police that were not forwarded to a detective for investigation.
Wow.
At all.
Okay. Wow.
In the majority of them. And a large number of them, the women dropped out when the small percentage of those that they actually deemed that they were going to investigate, a very small number of those actually went through the process because the women were treated like crap. They were re-victimized by the officers who would ask them questions like, were you drinking? What were you wearing? Etc., etc. So the women could see where it was headed.
Yeah.
In one case that I remember thinking, oh dear God, how horrible is this? The woman was raped I believe on the street randomly by some stranger. Or it was somebody that broke into her place. I can't remember exactly the details, but it was a very clear case of, she did not know the assailant. And the police told her that her boyfriend would have to be ruled out as the rapist, and he would have to submit to an investigation and also give a sample of his semen to be tested because she had a rape kit done.
Wow. And
I can't even believe that these kinds of questions are being asked. Well, I shouldn't say I don't believe it. I'm actually talking about why this is happening. But the fact of the matter is that those are the kinds of things that callous people that don't think about what rape culture instills and what rape culture looks like would say. So we know that there's ample evidence in everything that we do, that women are treated subordinate to men, and that they are treated as expendable. The same way that I was comparing, supremacy of race, we're talking about supremacy of gender, and they are treated differently. Women have been indoctrinated and subjected by society and religion and education and even the law to submit to men, to submit to misogyny, to submit to rape culture. And it is something that we see at every level. We saw it in the hearings, the way that Kavanaugh behaved in juxtaposition to the calm demeanor, the professionalism that was exhibited by Dr. Blasey Ford, the way that she responded to senators' questioning, even when it was contentious and when it was rude, when it was shaming. And in the same way, you see this completely different way that Kavanaugh treated senators, the way that women senators are treated, the way that they are invisible, erased from Congress by and large. That all tells you part of the reason why we have this problem. Recently, there was a story, I think it was just in the newspaper or in the media yesterday, a GOP candidate. And this was at a League of Women Voters event.
Okay. One of the forums.
Yeah, they were having a League of Women the League of Women Voters.
Yes.
Put together a forum so that people could get to know their candidates. Thanks for the League of Women Voters that puts these events together. And the League of Women Voters wants to get more women involved. And the League of Women Voters wants more women to vote.
Yep.
And the League of Women Voters wants more people to be informed.
And to run for office.
And this man, this GOP candidate, yanks the mic out of the hands of a female opponent and was completely disrespectful. I want to show you a clip of that interaction so you can see for yourself how rude he was. Here he goes. It's very sneaky, and he rips it out of her hand. Oh my God, was that like, it was terrifying. It was like a snake, and then, yank. He yanks it. And did you see her reaction? She was so, professional, despite this utter disrespect. When he then waves the microphone in her direction toward the end of this story, she kind of recoils from him, rightfully so, because he's acting like a jerk and an aggressive one. And he then throws the microphone on the table.
Oh, mic drop.
And do you like when people do that with microphones?
No.
That's abusive and violent to the equipment and to the woman. It's just completely inappropriate. And we allow men in society to behave this way. We let them know at every turn, because there's no punishment for this behavior, that it's okay for them to do that when it should not be okay. I wanted to talk about where this comes from. It is coming from an indoctrination. And we need to be able to look at it, whether it is in men that are being misogynists and enforcing patriarchy, or whether it is coming from women, because women are trained to do this to other women and to keep and check women and keep them in line.
Yeah.
This is how we're taught, especially evangelical women, Christian women. Yes, religion is part of the equation.
Yeah.
I want to share with you an article about Brett Kavanaugh. It's called "I Know Why Evangelical Women Support Brett Kavanaugh. I Was Raised to Do the Same." It was a very interesting article or blog post in the HuffPo by Carly Galzinger. And I'm going to read a couple of excerpts from it.
All right.
I really suggest that you read the whole thing for yourself. It is really jarring. She goes from age 15 through her young adulthood. And every year she describes one instance of sexual assault or harassment that she endures, and how the people around her, including clergy and family members and friends, treat her, and potential partners, male partners, treat her. It's a fascinating read. Here's some excerpts from this article I wanted to share with you. There exists a generation of women who were never taught consent. And I'm not talking about boomers. I'm talking about the hundreds of thousands of us who were raised in church and came of age at the turn of the millennium. In our world, we were taught that our bodies didn't belong to us. There's a picture of her at a youth retreat, a Christian youth retreat at age 17, and where they had this purity culture. She said, in our world, we were taught that our bodies didn't belong to ourselves. God owned them. That's what they said. But really they meant that men owned them. Our fathers, our pastors, our husbands, our politicians. Never ourselves. This, of course, is the foundation of the 1990s evangelical movement known as purity culture. You heard of this, Bob?
Oh, yeah.
You heard of it before?
Yeah, purity culture? I understand the concept, yeah.
Well, the pendulum it came from a pendulum swing from the free love culture of the 70s and the AIDS scare of the 1980s. The 1990s were all about abstinence. Abstinence only education in the school, no sex education training. Abstinence only as a tool for birth control. Abstinence only to deal with rape culture. Abstinence and purity culture. And what that meant is that evangelicals took it upon themselves to stop a generation from promiscuity. They forged a mascot, a slogan, true love waits. They held purity balls, manufactured an endless supply of merchandise, and voila, purity culture, a subculture within an already bizarre evangelical subculture, was born. Purity culture taught young girls to bear responsibility for men's lust. When they got dressed in the morning, they were supposed to ask themselves what their grandfathers would think of their outfits. They wore t-shirts that said, modest is hottest. And their formative years were spent in shame over their bodies, in suspicion over their own sexuality, and in earnest ownership over the behaviors of men.
Wow.
She says, we were taught that women who have sex before marriage were like trampled roses, damaged goods, undesirable, unworthy of love. Sometimes the metaphor used in a sermon illustration was a chewed piece of gum. The pastor would chew a piece of gum and then take it out of his mouth and pass it around the room, asking if anyone wanted to chew it after him.
Wow.
Sometimes it was a piece of tape that had lost its stickiness. Sometimes it was a torn up piece of construction paper. But the sermon illustration's message was always the same. You know what that message is? Women are worthless.
Yeah.
And that was reinforced with the confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh.
Definitely.
The message that we are worthless, that we don't have value, all of those things are reinforced when criminals, when people that should pay a price for their actions are not punished. And what it does is it emboldens enablers and rape apologists like Trump to say, we are sorry to Brett Kavanaugh, but not to Brett Kavanaugh's victims. It empowers enablers and rape apologists like Trump to say he was found innocent when there was no such innocence found and no trial had. It enables rape apologists to celebrate the confirmation with a beer. Something that was alleged was used by Sweetneck, the third person to come forward and say that she was a victim of Brett Kavanaugh. Quaaludes and alcohol, grain alcohol, were used to get women drunk and incapacitated so that people could rape them. The allegations of alcohol use were also in the Ramirez case. Deborah Ramirez said that she was very drunk at the time, and everyone else was there that was also drinking, but she was very incapacitated at the time that Brett Kavanaugh exposed himself to her. When people like Kavanaugh, who come from places of power and wealth, when people like Trump, who get bailed out by their daddy's millions time and time again, who use the media to pay off women to keep them silent, as we know Trump has done, never get punished, never even get shamed or questioned for the things that they have done. They never have to make amends. They never have to say they're sorry. They go on to become even greater monsters, even greater threats to society. And that is what we need to talk about. That is what we need to address as a country. That is what we need to deal with and come to terms with, because we enable these things to go on and they get worse. They don't get better. They don't stay stagnant. They get worse. That is why decades after Anita Hill, an entire lifetime for, after Anita Hill, we have done worse by the victims of Brett Kavanaugh than we did for Anita Hill. At least she got a full FBI investigation, and the FBI questioned her and the accused. At least that woman was able to give her testimony without people trying to stop her from even showing up, like they did to Dr. Blasey Ford. And that is why yours truly, A Mexican Crossing Lines, holds people accountable. I have made many enemies along the way because I have chosen to continue to tell people about the crimes committed in the Kathleen Bennett story. And the reason for that is there were many people involved that committed a heinous crime. They falsely accused, falsely imprisoned a woman for 6 months. They framed her completely. They kidnapped her mother and left her to die in a hospital. They put Mary Trujillo in an early grave, and they did not give a rip about her life. And those criminals went on to go do other things in their life. And if they were the type of people that would lay low and be ashamed of their participation in these activities, then yes, maybe we could go on with our lives and not worry that they're going to put other people in danger in the horrible way that they did to Kathleen Bennett and her mom. But that's not what's happening, folks. That's not what's happened. So we have to hold these folks accountable because they think they're going to go out there and do the work. They think they're going to go out there and give justice and respite and care and comfort to people in disasters, in horrible situations of trauma, of loss, like missing and murdered Indigenous women, like having people that are victims of violent crime or rape. That is why the last time that I did this show, I showed you that Mulaney and Christina Hollenbeck are still friends to this day. Let me show you again. Here's Mulaney talking about her work now on missing and murdered Indigenous women. And she says, I never discredit anyone in the missing and murdered Indigenous women movement because if you're doing the work, that's all that matters. No, Mulaney, that's not all that matters. If you are a criminal kidnapper, you can't be. Don't you understand that part of the missing and murdered indigenous woman is the missing part, kidnapper lady.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't be a kidnapper that left an elderly person, a person that's a vulnerable adult, to die in a hospital and be like, I want to be at the forefront of doing that work now. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. You never even apologized for your actions. You have never atoned publicly. You have never been held to account. So no, you do not get to head up any missing and murdered indigenous nothing. Yeah. Nothing. Show again what she said. She says, it purely a sacrifice and commitment and dedication. No, it is not just purely sacrifice and commitment and dedication. You also have to have honesty, integrity, and you cannot be a kidnapper. She said, we all had a dream and focus point to help families, irregardless of community rumors or family member rumors. It's not a rumor. We exonerated Kathleen Bennett. You're the one who framed her, Mulaney Stoneman, with the help of Christina Hollenbeck and Bill Running Fisher kidnapping her. You committed a crime. The fact that you were not charged for it, the fact that you were never punished for it, doesn't mean that you're not a dangerous, kidnapping, murderous criminal. You put that woman in an early grave. And do you remember that Kathleen Bennett was being threatened with getting a homicide charge if her mother died in jail?
Yeah.
That is what her public defender told her. That is what we reported on this show. We were able to get Kathleen out of jail and her mother out of that hospital and back with her family. If it had not been for the work of some kind witnesses that stepped in to help, and the media justice work of yours truly, my husband, our team, and this station at 88.1 FM, Kathleen might have been charged with the crime that Mulaney Stoneman committed, which was putting that woman in an early grave.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? You don't get to get away with that and then go on to try to put yourself in the limelight as somebody that helps victims. I'm sorry. That's not how it works, especially when you have never apologized, never accepted what you did and atoned for it. No, you don't get a pass. Here she goes on saying, it's not our way to braid our prayers with chaos. It is our way to find our missing. It is your way to kidnap women, so you don't get to go find missing people. This year, we were able to bring home over 7 girls or women. We? Who's we? I don't know who you're working with, Mulaney, but you need to stay away from vulnerable people, especially missing people, because you're a criminal. We were a huge part of finding Olivia Lone Bear, and we are working on the Bring Joe Home, missing from Devil's Lake area. Our women count too. Everything we do, imbalance, missing and murdered Indigenous women, missing and murdered Indigenous girls. Missing and murdered Indigenous. I don't know what those other ones are. Love to all of those doing the work. Keep going. Here's who liked that post. Here's some of the people that liked that post. Take a look. You've got Faith Spotted Eagle, one of the people that ordered the camp to be raided in the story of Kathleen Bennett, that was working with L'Oreal Blackshaw, the woman that was giving the orders to the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock people that were paid for by Wes Clark Jr. and Michael A. Wood Jr. Here they are. This is the woman that gave her the right to start her women's society at the camp, which she used to kidnap Mary Trujillo and falsely frame Kathleen Bennett. And here is a post with her tagging Christina Hollenbeck, because they're still pals. They're still gal pals. And she's stating there, I want to know how you can help from home. She's trying to work on fighting sex trafficking. This is a woman that had her daughter involved in this crime of kidnapping Mary Trujillo and taking her and putting her in that hospital. The same woman, Melanie Stoneman, had her daughter, the one that got raped later by the same folks she was working with. Yeah. That Mike Fassig's son,
Yeah.
Ed Higgins, Aubrey Peckham, they were all working with the security teams that kidnapped Mary Trujillo and put Kathleen Bennett in jail falsely. Those people were all working together. And her daughter got raped as a result of the people that she was hanging out with, which Melanie was responsible for working with also. This is what happens to anyone near Melanie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a coincidence that an elder woman ended up in a hospital with bed sores and nearly died and died early because of Melanie Stoneman. It's not a coincidence that Kathleen Bennett ended up framed for a crime she didn't commit in a jail for 6 months because she was around Melanie Stoneman. It is not a coincidence that one of the foster kids that was being cared for by Melanie Stoneman ended up getting involved in this crime of kidnapping. And it is not a coincidence that she ended up getting raped by one of their cohorts later on, because mayhem, raping, and crimes follow this criminal kidnapper, Melanie Stoneman, everywhere she goes. That's what happens around these folks if you haven't been paying attention. Melanie doesn't have a degree, but she did claim to be a medic, I will have you recall.
Oh, yeah.
Here she is tagged in a post with the mother of a baby that Melanie Stoneman is now getting involved in the present.
Wow.
I told you in my last show, she's getting involved in trying to take care of this baby that is being taken away from the woman Aldney Two Eagle II. And she posts, "We have an inherent right." No, you do not, entitled woman, entitled sellout criminal.
Yeah.
Melanie, you do not have a right. These entitled people like Kavanaugh and Trump and Melanie Stoneman think they have a right to do whatever the hell they want. But you don't. You don't. Not when you've committed crimes and you have never had to be punished for or atoned for. No, you don't. And she says, "I don't need a law degree. Tired of systemic institutional genocide. What if it was your baby?" Hashtag what if it was your baby. I don't care whose baby it is. It should be nowhere near a kidnapper like you.
Yep.
I shudder to think what happens to any children or vulnerable people near you, because I've already seen what happens in your wake everywhere you go. And speaking of disasters in your wake, I want to talk about this disaster that the most recent of which we have, Hurricane Michael.
Yep.
Incidentally, what was Trump doing? What did he do for Hurricane Michael as Hurricane Michael was devastating the Carolinas and Florida, the Florida area? What was he doing? Why, he was meeting with sellout Kanye West, who was talking a bunch of nonsense. Do you remember?
Yeah.
His unhinged ramblings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was
in
like
the White House.
Yeah. It was hard to watch. It was like, oh my God, what's going on today? You know, and it's like I watched several people analyze it. I saw, clips of it playing. I didn't actually see it from beginning to end because I actually was just watching news coverage of it. And I thought, this is really, really bizarre. And Trump was just sitting there, and Kanye was swearing, he's using vulgar terminology, and he was talking like this esoteric speak about, the universe and love. And then he's saying he didn't support, the frisk. What's it called? When they stop and frisk, the illegal stopping, which has already been determined illegal, that Trump wants to bring back. And Kanye is like, I don't want to say it. But the idea that the whole time there was this hurricane going on, and it was a fast hurricane. I mean, this thing whipped through Florida in a day. It was just by the end of the one day, it was already moved up into Georgia. It wasn't lingering there, and it was horrible. Just horrible. I mean, if you just look at the picture at the bottom there, it's like,
Wow.
it's like a huge tornado
Jesus.
that's very, very wet with water.
Do you see how harmful it is to give a moron a platform? I mean, I'm
two of
talking,
them.
talking about both of these men, because they go on to do more and more horrible things. And let's not forget what he did, President Trump, when Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget what he did. He showed up, threw paper towels at people.
Yeah.
And more recently, during the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, lied about the death count.
Yeah.
Said he had done the best job ever. And lied about the death count. That is how little he cares. And it is devastating to realize that this is the same person that is supposed to be tasked with sending humanitarian aid to people in this newest hurricane.
Wow. So
I hope we can learn from what we have already seen in conjunction with these disaster vultures. What do we know? Well, we know that Christina Hollenbeck, who helped to frame and falsely arrest and imprison Kathleen Bennett and abuse and put an elderly Mary Trujillo in an early grave, was working with the WPLC, the Water Protector Legal Collective. We showed you pictures of her coming out of the courthouse with Olive Bias and the volunteer Jay Fuller from the Freshet and the Water Protector Legal Collective. The same woman that appeared in videos with Myron Dewey disparaging the reporting of yours truly and this station and the story of Kathleen Bennett. We also know that she was working with the kidnapper, the WPLC as well, the kidnapper Mulaney Stoneman, which makes it all the more egregious that they ignored Kathleen Bennett in jail. They were part and parcel of framing her. Mm-hmm. Do you understand what that means? That lawyers that were involved in this case and in Standing Rock legal teams were aware that this woman was innocent. Were aware that she was framed because they were working with the people that framed her. Mm-hmm. And she was also connected. I'm talking about the Kingpin and Mulaney Stoneman.
Oh, yeah.
Hollenbeck and Mulaney Stoneman were connected to Phyllis Young. And as you all know, they were all connected to the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock and Wes Clark Jr. We know the man who made up the lies to the police was Bill Runningfisher, who was working security with the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock and paid by Wes Clark Jr. and Michael A. Wood Jr. And we know that Sadef Buyakatman was working closely with Ed Higgins, Aubrey Peckham, and the veterans of the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, which later became the Veterans Respond, which later then morphed and splintered into other rescue, search, disaster relief groups. And we know the fake transracial Indian Desiree Kane was working with Winnie Wong and Seven McDonald and Maggie Day doing PR work and others in the media to promote people associated with the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, per Wes Clark Jr., who you will recall told me that she was meeting, Desiree Kane, was meeting with Mike Fassig to get information that she was going to be delivering to the media. Wes Clark also told me the same stuff. And according to Desiree Kane's previous boyfriend, Jeremy Remy Frendenberg, the media organization that Desiree Kane was going to be feeding this news that she was going to get from Mike Fassig to was The Intercept. The Intercept. Go back and watch our old show, Intercepted. Mm-hmm. Nemo, go and find that one and put it in the links too. So you can find out all the stuff about that media organization and how it is linked to its reporting at Standing Rock and why it's important that you know that they've been intercepted. During the interview with Wes Clark Jr., where he told me to speak with Desiree Kane, he also told me he was going to be connecting me to none other than author and reporter Naomi Klein. She also works with The Intercept. And you may also recall Aline Brown, the reporter who authored many, if not most of the articles regarding Standing Rock for The Intercept, worked previously as an editor or a writer helping with the book for Naomi Klein. So that's how they're all connected. And if you want to go and find out more about how Naomi Klein and many of these organizations and nonprofits that funded people that were at Standing Rock and NGOs that funded people that were at Standing Rock are progressing the fake progressive agenda, you need to go back and check out my rereading and with my commentary over the top of Wrong Kind of Wonderful articles. I am completely blanking on the name of the author of those articles, but we did a 6-part series on those called Fake Progressive Agendas, and we will share those in the links with this show. So you can go back and figure out how all of those organizations are funded and what's behind them.
Talking about the Cory Morningstar? Or?
Cory Morningstar,
yeah,
thank
okay.
you. Cory Morningstar, and there was another guy too, and I can't remember. But that's all in the links with the shows that we previously did. So if you want to go and read those articles for yourself, you can go and find those on kpppfm.com. Now, I want to show you how Naomi Klein showed up working for The Intercept to tell us about, of all things, disaster capitalism. Here she is. Here's excerpts from a much longer video, which you're free to go and find and check out for yourselves, but I'm not going to play the whole thing. Here are some clips. Pay attention.
Tonight, Maria's direct hit, devastating Puerto Rico.
The biggest catastrophe in Puerto Rican history.
Evacuate or die.
Puerto Rico es una zona de desastre.
Desastre natural.
Desastre.
I've been reporting on large-scale disasters for 2 decades. Superstorms, wars, economic meltdowns. My focus is less on the fact of these shocks than on how they are so often exploited. How governments, corporations, and investors have learned to take advantage of the desperation and distraction in the aftermath of these events to push through radical policies, privatization, deregulation, and austerity laws that remake societies in the interests of a tiny elite. I saw it happen in Iraq after the U.S. invasion, when the country was treated as a blank canvas for libertarian fantasies, and again in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, when the storm became the excuse to rapidly shut down public schools and public housing and replace them with more profitable alternatives. Even before Hurricane Maria made landfall in September of 2017, many Puerto Ricans worried about another episode of this long story, about how the storm could be used to attack their austerity-starved public services and to snap up damaged beachfront property on the cheap.
Immediately after the hurricane, we distributed over 10,000 solar lamps to improve quality of life for the people. Now we have houses asking us for support, and we want to help people unplug from the grid, from fossil fuel. We should embrace a transition to clean energy sources. Solar is one. We have plenty of wind, we have water power, we have plenty of biomass that can be used as a source of energy to run our country.
It was for a gathering of several hundred organizers and intellectuals from across Puerto Rico and a few visitors from further afield. It was billed as a people summit against disaster capitalism and for other worlds.
I think my dream, and I think about this all the time, is that there's going to be a network of communities that are building locally, that are creating these economies, these industries based on food, based on energy regeneration, that through this crisis, the Puerto Rican people realize that they actually know what the solutions are and are able to operationalize them.
But many here in Humacao are convinced that if the post-disaster gold rush is allowed to continue unchecked, it will foreclose on these kinds of bold solutions.
It's not done yet, is it? Oh yes. Okay. So, that was the little clips of that video that I said is a much longer reporting, but you get the idea, don't you? Like, they're talking about what essentially is the plan for Puerto Rico and what this disaster capitalism does, which is come in, privatize everything, and take Puerto Rico away from the residents of Puerto Rico and give it to all of these investors that are coming in. These people that are coming in to get their piece of Puerto Rico, while the Puerto Rican people were basically left to die on an island without electricity or services like water, and all of these people had to evacuate. Eventually, millions of people have been evacuated, have had to self-evacuate to come to the mainland because they were left without any resources. So it is all the more very disturbing to me specifically that these disaster vultures that we've been following since they were at Standing Rock are now going to Puerto Rico, because I don't have any faith that they are there for the right reasons. I don't have any faith that, given what they've been involved with in the past, they're going to do good for that community. I want to show you some of the other organizations that were featured in that video that you just saw. Those organizations, do you see that, honey?
Yeah.
It's the next slide, organizations.
No, I guess I don't have that.
Oh, well, it's right there. It says organizations. Those organizations include one of, there's like 4 different ones in there.
Okay.
And one of them is called the Climate Justice Alliance. You saw the executive director of that organization speaking in one of the clips of that video previously. And I wanted to let you know that organizations. There it is, organizations.
Okay, got it.
Here are the organizations associated with that film at the end. PARES, the Climate Justice Alliance, there it is. UPROSE, Casa Pueblo, Organización Boricua de Agricultura Ecológica, and the Black Dirt Farm Collective. So the Climate Justice Alliance that you just saw mentioned there is connected to the Indigenous Environmental Network. They are one of the members of the Climate Justice Alliance. In fact, they were recently at a global climate action summit in San Francisco, California. And the Indigenous Environmental Network was there as well. And they were there with Desiree Kane and Aldo Sewani. Do you remember I was telling you about Desiree Kane's new main squeeze, Aldo Sewani?
Mm-hmm.
I showed you the Me Too video that he did, or a clip of it. I showed you how he was connecting Mulaney Stoneman to the mother of the baby that was being taken away from her. And I was like, holy God, why are these people giving Mulaney Stoneman babies?
Yeah.
Desiree Kane and Aldo Sewani were in San Francisco. There's a black and white photo I showed you of both of those two. And here it is. This is from when they were in San Francisco. You see that? It says right there, San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's not enough, here's a screenshot of Desiree Kane showing that she is celebrating Maria's voice so much lately. And it's in San Francisco. Here is that video. Check her out in the front row.
Prices down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter singing, keep it in the ground. The people gonna rise like the water. We're gonna calm this crisis down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter singing, keep it in the ground. The people gonna rise like the water. We're gonna calm this crisis down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter singing, keep it in the ground. The people gonna rise like the water. We're gonna calm this crisis down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter singing, keep it in the ground. The people gonna rise like the water. We're gonna calm this crisis down. I hear the voice of my great-granddaughter saying, keep it in the ground.
So they're working. Desiree Kane is working closely with the Indigenous Environmental Network. It's no wonder that they kind of remained silent about the Kathleen Bennett case as well. They're working with the people that framed Kathleen Bennett and kidnapped away her mom and put her in an early grave. Why would they raise their hands and say, oh, yeah, we want to help Kathleen Bennett when they're the ones helping to frame her?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And, of course, they used The Intercept, the video you were just watching with Naomi Klein. And the connection between Desiree Kane and Naomi Klein that I shared with you came from Wes Clark. That was the information I got from Wes Clark. And also Desiree Kane's previous boyfriend, Jeremy Frendenberg. I have yet to share that audio with you, but I got it. And I can show you, I bring receipts when I speak, he telling me, that Desiree is giving information directly to The Intercept. Which is why that reporting about Standing Rock was so skewed. Now you understand why. Now you understand why it was that they chose to promote who it was that they chose to promote. Many of whom were scoundrels, phonies. And you know who else was out in San Fran? Why? It was Dallas Goldtooth of the Indigenous Environmental Network. Here's his post of that march you just saw Desiree Kane in.
Exactly.
There she is in the front row. And he says, Rise for Climate, Jobs and Justice March. And here is that video in which Desiree Kane appears. This is before they start singing.
Keep walking. Just slow it down. Keep walking. Keep walking.
Y'all are working so beautiful right now. So beautiful. You guys are doing amazing. Let these politicians know. Let them hear your voice. Let them shut up. Do your warrior too. Let them do your warrior thing.
Hey, what's up? I'm live streaming. Say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody. We're out here in downtown San Francisco marching for what we march for and do what we do best.
Yeah. Where are we at? What's going on?
We're here at the climate march in San Francisco, and we're here to tell the world we got real solutions.
What's your name? Where are you
Thomas
from?
Joseph, Hooper, California.
Awesome. Keep moving. Keep moving. Slowly. Keep moving. Keep moving. Hey, folks. I'm live streaming right now. I'm actually not supposed to be doing this because I'm supposed to be marshaling, but we got great marshals here doing great work at the Rise for Climate, Jobs, and Justice March here in San Francisco. So, we're good. All right, we'll keep moving.
There's something incredibly disturbing to me about real indigenous people like Dallas Goldtooth, who, his dad, he's really from this area, giving agency to fake Indians transracialing like Desiree Kane, taking the place of women who are indigenous in these climate marches, in the travels that they made to Europe to fight for the people in, where was it? Portugal? Yeah. Portugal, to not allow fracking. Why is Desiree Kane replacing the voice of indigenous women in missing and murdered in conversations, in climate conversations, when there are indigenous women who have lived that life, that have that experience, that can speak on behalf of their own people? Why are people like Dallas Goldtooth, the Indigenous Environmental Network, or any of these other organizations that were at Standing Rock allowing it? I have questions.
Yeah.
I think we deserve answers, because they should not have that place. I don't think that they should be erasing real indigenous people and brown facing themselves and standing in our place and saying, I will speak for you. I know what is best for you. Because usually when someone else tells our stories and makes decisions for us, whether it's as women or as people of color, they don't get it right. And it bears repeating that, there are direct connections between the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, Wesley Clark, and all of these people that are in the leadership of organizing Desiree Kane, Winnie Wong, Maggie Day, Seven McDonald, all of whom have been working on political campaigns. They have agendas, folks, and we need to know what those are and where the money is coming from. You know who else was working in Puerto Rico? Formerly of TYT, it is none other than Naomi Const. Naomi Const was also in Puerto Rico for a stint, among many others. And you should also recall that TYT got rid of several people, Jordan Sheridan being one of them. But he did not get rid of Naomi Const right away. She is now left, and I think she's still with Justice Democrats. Not sure what else or who else she's working with directly, but she was recently ousted. But at the time, she was still with TYT. Here are some of her posts. First, we have the post that she made about Naomi Klein appearing on Democracy Now!
Yeah.
That's another agency that seems to recycle a lot of these, people with fake progressive agendas, like EIN members and a lot of the phonies that we saw at Standing Rock.
Oh, yeah.
So the post here says, I've been in Puerto Rico all week covering this. Naomi Klein has done fantastic work. Here they are, echo chambering each other's stories. The Intercept and TYT.
Yep.
And they, and don't ever forget that when we were in the thick of the Kathleen Bennett story, I and Josh Long got into an argument and chat that included Jordan Sheridan and Z Cohen and Josh Long and myself about their hijacking of the story that we gave to Jordan Sheridan and TYT, not to Truth Against the Machine, and co-rapist with Jordan Sheridan, Chelsea Lyons Kent, and the way in which they were telling that story. And I showed you that Z Cohen said to me that they had a reporter at TYT that broke the story of paramilitary contractors, aka Tiger Swan. That was the big one that they wanted to focus on, at Standing Rock, along with the Intercept. That they worked at the Intercept and also at TYT. So there's a connection there, which I asked Wesley Clark Jr. about, and which he vehemently denied. But that's what was said to me by a producer at TYT, Z Cohen, at the time. So Naomi Const was in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Here she is posting about it on December 31st, 2017. why does it feel to me like all of these people look like they're on a vacation rather than working on a story? Here she is reporting for TYT. You can see right there. It says, on the 6th-month anniversary of Hurricane Maria, I wrote a poem today at a local poetry store / cafe about colonialism. She's so #woke, isn't she, Duke?
Oh, yeah.
I read it to a woman named Gabriela who worked at the shop. I gifted it to her. We are doing continuous reporting here in #Puerto Rico on disaster capitalism for the Young Turks.
Yep.
It's everywhere, and Puerto Ricans are resisting at Old San Juan. There she is with her fist up.
Oh, yeah.
#woke AF.
Yep.
And here she is with Ty Bayless, one of the rapists. He's still working. This is after the story of Jordan Sheridan and Chelsea Lyons Kent and Ty Bayless all raping this woman that worked for TYT and Truth Against the Machine, Carly Hammond. She was the victim, and he was fired. Jordan Sheridan was, they let him go.
Yes.
That's what Cenk Uygur told us.
Yep.
But Ty Bayless went on to keep on working, and they thought, where shall we send this rapist next?
Yeah.
Let's send him to disaster area Puerto Rico.
Exactly.
Remember, all 3 of these people engaged in non-consensual sex with a woman that was heavily under the influence of alcohol, possibly under the influence of other things like drugs that she didn't even know about, after she had been in a hot tub where it's hot.
Yeah.
It's right in the name.
Yeah.
What happens when you go into a sauna or a hot tub with drugs or alcohol on board?
You get drunk real fast.
You could also die. You could die. Like, that's nothing to be messing around with. So these 3 people were involved. And do you remember the disgusting videos that were made by Chelsea Lyons Kent on different media platforms saying, I'm just a sexually liberated woman, and if I want to have a threesome, I'll have a threesome.
Exactly.
That's the entitlement. She sounds just like Mulaney Stoneman. If I want to do this, I'm going to do it because it's my right to do it. But we have a right to consent. We have a right to know your past, your history, your crimes, especially if you've never atoned for them. And we have a right to say, no, thank you. We don't want your help. Your kind of help might be too dangerous. Look what you did in Flint, in the flop house. You took resources from residents who have been poisoned by water. You went there to help. And you raped a woman and took resources from the people that were needing them. Chelsea Lyons Kent, Angelo Sison, all of the other people that went to the Flint Flop House. You know who you are. So these folks are not to be trusted in the present because they have shown a lack of critical thinking skills, empathy, integrity, honesty in the past. There is a reason why we have rape culture that is continued and why we have oppression continued on top of, stacked on top of people in these very vulnerable situations like disasters right in the aftermath of a hurricane. It is because we have allowed these disaster vultures to go unchecked, to go uncalled out, to go unpunished. So they send Ty Bayless to Puerto Rico. Here he is again in another picture, hanging out with an elderly person at their house.
Yeah.
I'm concerned. Aren't you concerned?
Yeah.
Can you read this one, honey?
Yep. 83-year-old Don Alfonso has lived in his home for 48 years. Half of his home's roof was torn off during Hurricane Maria. He has no power and most don't. He lost his wife 2 years ago, lives alone, and is just trying to keep normalcy. Yesterday it rained and his kitchen area shown here flooded.
There's Ty Bayless right there.
Yep.
Holding the camera.
Wow.
So After that, she's off to report from Roosevelt Road. Here she is. Again, does this woman look like she is a reporter, or does she look like she's on vacation taking selfies? Can you tell me, what's your opinion, Duke?
My opinion is that if you look, she is sitting in a nice little garden and taking selfies. But I think she has a microphone in front of her face. It's one of those really posh reporting jobs.
Mm-hmm. And we see it over and over again. These so-called water protectors, blah, 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 from Standing Rock that were reporting or were medics like Mulaney Stoneman, who's not a medic, or Christina Hollenbeck, who's also not a medic.
Yep.
Or, PhD Linda Black Elk, who doesn't have a PhD, and the list goes on.
On and on.
Red Wolf Pope, who said he was a lawyer, who's not a lawyer, or many of these other people that said they're lawyers that don't have licenses to currently practice the law, like Chase Lionize, and etc., etc., etc. It begs the question: what credentializes you to give disaster relief to someone? What credentializes you to even be doing this work? When what we clearly have seen in the past from these folks is an incompetence to do the basic reporting, the basic investigating, the basic checking of backgrounds, the basic giving adequate support, not medical care, just support to someone that is a vulnerable adult, like in the Kathleen Bennett case.
Yeah.
It's highly questionable. Here's Naomi talking about Alex Cohen's post, and I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to show you in much more detail in part 2 of this Disaster Vultures in Puerto Rico show, which we are not going to be doing tonight, folks. We're going to be doing that next week. But I'm going to show you who Alex Cohen is.
Okay.
For now, I will tell you, I always bring receipts, so just trust and believe that when I tell you who Alex Cohen is, I will show you who Alex Cohen is as well. Alex Cohen is from Mississippi Stand.
Okay.
And Alex Cohen was one of the people that appeared in many of the videos and was involved in many of the actions that Kevin Gilbert was in.
Okay.
Remember him? Kevin Gilbert of Standing Rock? The ginger guy with the beard that used to sell diet pills.
British accent, yes.
British accent guy. Yeah. Alex Cohen was there with him. These are all people that came from these same movements, folks. That's why it pays to pay attention and follow the history of what happened at Standing Rock. Because these folks are all in it together, and they're still together. Here's what Alex's post says. Can you read that one, honey?
Yes.
Reading
with
500,000
Puerto Rico.
Nope. Alex's post.
Oh, Alex. The one underneath it.
Yeah.
Alex Cohen. Reading this list actually breaks my heart. Plans are moving forward to privatize everything on this island without the consent of the people. To move forward, it has always been, since Spain to the United States, colonial rule. To make backroom deals about who owns Puerto Rico and which parts of it, as well as selling off its culture, infrastructure, and human rights, acting if real humans aren't at the other end to feel the shackles tighten.
You know what really irks me about people like Alex Cohen and, Naomi Klein's reporting on this, Desiree Kane, especially those transracial people, or that try to get past themselves off. Even the white folks like Kevin Gilbert were like, all my relatives, and, they were trying to adopt Christina Hollenbeck, Aldo Soani. They all adopted a different way of speaking, like they were Lakota people from Plains. And they're like dressing like Indians and acting like they're Indians, and these are my relatives, this is my Indian name is Walks with Good Medicine Woman. Like, they all want to take on an identity, and what's really disgusting about it is that they think that they can stand in the place of real indigenous people, real people of color, and say all of the jargony things and speak in a certain way and adopt a certain language and wear us like a costume of sorts. And that makes them good people. That makes them the ones that are supposed to be there giving the message and fighting for us. Just performing something doesn't mean you're fighting for it. Performing something doesn't mean you understand it. Performing something doesn't mean you are it. You're a fraud, you're a fake, you are a phony, and you don't have any right to take on the place of the Puerto Rican people, the indigenous people, people of color, or missing and murdered women. Not with your track records. No, señor. And let me just share with you that Alex Cohen went on to work with the people that are involved in the Aloha Movement Project, which is the umbrella organization, nonprofit that we told you is connected to all of the people that we showed you on the last show that were connected to Ed Higgins and Activate Now. And I'm going to come full circle on that so you can see. Will you put that post back up so you can read what Naomi Klein wrote above? Naomi Klein posted this saying, with 500,000 Puerto Ricans off the island since the storm, the disaster capitalists have seized it. Please share. So they're just out there saying, look what we're all doing.
Yep.
We're reporting on it, so that makes us not one of the people doing it. No, you're doing it. And it's disgusting that you're also the ones reporting on what you're doing and standing there and smiling and acting as if you're one of the good guys. That is what is so disgusting about this. She goes on, please share. This is happening under Democratic Governor Rosello. This is a partnership between the capitalist right and the capitalist left that hurts working people. Capitalism is colonialism rebranded. Make this go viral. And here is a post of one of the other people that I showed you in my last show. They were getting involved with this Activate Now.
Okay.
Hope Floats. Snooki Correa. Remember I told you about Snooki?
Yep.
This is important for you to pay attention to because of who she is working with. You can see the connections clearly here. Snooki posts with Sadef Buyaktaman, the former CFO of the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock that was working with Wes Clark Jr. and Wes Clark Sr., former general and presidential candidate, and who, as you know, is the, what's it called? For the Turkish Forum, she is the operations manager or communications director,
yes, what it
along
was,
with her father, Kaya Alep Buyaktaman of the Turkish Forum that appears in the WikiLeaks for Barat's box. They are all in favor of the dictator in Turkey, and they are all in the story that I talked about where they met with Wes Clark Jr. and Sr. At Wes Clark Jr.'s house right before they went out to Standing Rock. What were they talking about? I don't know, but if you want to find out more, go back and check out my show, Let's Talk Turkey, in which I divulge all of that information. Okay. I also want to show you this other. Let me go through these names here. You may recall some of these names of who she is posting with. Yeah. The 21 others involved are Angelo Sison, also formerly Angelo Wolf. Remember, he was at the Flint Flophouse.
Yeah.
Anthony Gazzotti. More on him in a minute. For those of you who already know who Anthony Gazzotti is from our last show, you saw him also involved with the folks that were in Florida and that were about to go to Puerto Rico. You've got Christopher Dussing. Who's Christopher Dussing? He is the partner of Sadef Buyaktaman, and that was working with the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock after Wes supposedly left. Eric Poemasea was the guy that interviewed Miko Hayes in the aftermath of the Me Too movement shows that we were doing, in which we were talking about Ed Higgins's rape of Missy Waddell. Then we've got, what other fine people are on this list that I can recognize? Well, there's Jana Stone. Jana Stone, in our last show, we played Victoria Dargan's interview in which she told us Jana Stone was the new gal pal, a.k.a. Girlfriend of Ed Higgins here. And then, of course, is there anybody else? Paiu Vane.
Yeah.
Paiu Vane is the guy that helped start Maza Coin, which is like Bitcoin, but for Standing Rock, for Lakota people, for the Pine Ridge Reservation, I think. And Paiu Vane also is working with these disaster relief efforts. Paiu Vane was the person that was posting the same kind of nonsense about all of these drugs and guns and tagging the police department along with Bill Runningfisher's cousin Von Bolage during the Standing Rock stuff.
Okay.
That's the Paiu Vane we're talking about here. And next we have... And Brandon Green's in there. Remember Brandon Green was the guy that posted about Mulaney Stoneman stealing panels?
Oh, yes. That's why it's familiar.
Familiar, yep.
Okay.
Here's another Snooki Correa post. Who else is she posting about and with? Well, here she's posting with Sadaf Buyaktaman. And what is she posting about? The Regional Health Rapid City Hospital in Rapid City, South Dakota. And she says, what do, Snooki and Sadaf? They leave no veteran, no peacekeeper, no water protector, no prayer warrior behind. Veterans stand for Standing Rock. We are here. We are coming. Yeah. Did they do that for Kathleen Bennett?
No, not at all.
No. They do leave veterans behind. They do leave people behind. They even frame innocent people and kill elders. They actually do harm. Who's tagged in this post? Wait, there's Jana Stone near the bottom once again.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have Stephen Jeffrey Christian. You remember him?
Yes.
He's the guy that was always posting the videos at Standing Rock and crying.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is in there? Christopher Dussing, the boyfriend and also co-partner with Sadef Buyaktaman
and Angelo
of the
Sison.
Veterans Respond, and Angelo Wolf / Angelo Sison from the Flint Flophouse and beyond. Next, I want to show you Gazzotti. More about Gazzotti. Here he is with that guy that we saw Ed Higgins interviewing. Remember the guy that I showed you in our last show that was being interviewed, and I said I think he's talking about God and what happened in Florida because he has something to do with a church.
Okay,
and his name was
right.
John Bob Carlos.
Yes.
John Bob Carlos. Here he is with Anthony Gazzotti.
Wow.
And he says, finally got to meet the man behind the mask.
Yeah.
So Ed and Anthony, Ed Higgins, are tight. Remember I told you there was a group room for women that accused Ed Higgins
Yep.
and Luis Monsiváis on Facebook, and that it was mostly filled with posts from Anthony Gazzotti?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they were just entrapping women. That's the kind of disgusting rape culture behavior these men are into. Entrapping women that have any complaints about sexual predators like Ed Higgins and Luis Monsiváis, finding out what those women have, and then using it to smear their names and attack them before those women can go public, before those women can find support, to silence women. Are these the kinds of predators? Are these the kind of rape apologist supporters that you want caring for people after a disaster?
No.
Like a hurricane? Really? Because that's disturbing to me. That's what these men do. I mean, I don't know enough about John Bob yet, but that's what Anthony Gazzotti is about. That's what the folks like Luis Monsiváis is about. That's what Terrence Daniels is about. They're rape apologists, or at least they're rape enablers, because they like to stay silent and they like to support, lift up, and give props to the rapists around them, and they abound. They're everywhere. Here's what the Hope Floats group was doing to get people out to Puerto Rico. You tell me if this Operation Float, which is not a nonprofit, or the Boondocks Canines, which is also not a nonprofit, or the Black Flag Search and Rescue, which is also not a nonprofit, all of whom are umbrellaed under the Aloha Project movement, Aloha Movement Project that I talked to you about, that is associated with Activate Now. You explain to me if what this is describing in this post sounds like they make less than $50,000 a year, as we discussed from the filings with the IRS filings that we were able to find available online, which we showed people on our last show. Okay. This year's Sagittarian Extravaganza is a 1 week long cruise Activate Tour, a cruise.
Wow.
In service of Puerto Rico and various islands, pending those cities are open to receiving distribution volunteers. Hit us up for details if you're interested. We are in motion of getting a discount for every 10 rooms we book. It's Catalina's birthday on the 7th. Who else's birthday is it? Departs December 7th. Your thoughts, Duke?
Well, first of all, it's like if they're booking a cruise and they're booking all these rooms, they need a lot of cash and capital. And as we discussed in the last show, the Aloha Project files what's called a 990, short form basically. And you file those a postcard. You file a postcard because you have raised less than $50,000, and so you're not required to do the full 990 form. And so when I see this group basically having a bunch of other entities underneath it, but they can't call themselves nonprofits. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. I'll actually show some stuff about that. Yep. But if you're booking flights, you're booking 10 rooms, you're using a lot of cash. Even if you spend it, it's not that you're not spending the money you bring in. It's how much money you bring in.
And donations are still considered income.
Oh yeah.
You put it down as in kind, and we're going to be showing you in our next show, but just calculate all of the donations that they're taking in, that they are talking about taking in, and ask yourself if that adds up to what they're claiming on their taxes, because I smell tax fraud and tax evasion all over this story. Next, I'm going to show you the Activate tour connection with Operation Float and the Black Flag Search and Rescue, which we've been talking about. Here they all are.
Yep.
Pinning ceremony for Black Flag Search and Rescue Squad during past weeks of Operation Float's #Activate Tour. Help us assist them in their journey. They touched down in Puerto Rico today. You know what that means? GoFundMe, 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 GoFundMe. They're taking in more dollars. And remember, we showed you on one of our past shows that billionaire wealth organizations like Nexus are behind the funding of some of these groups, and billionaires involved in the media industry like Mike Smith and Public, whatever that nonprofit or whatever organization he's involved with. There's billionaire wealth involved in there. They could pay and cover all of this. They could have rebuilt Puerto Rico on their own. Yeah. And instead, they're milking money out of people in the public. They're taking your hard-earned dollars for their disaster vulture vacations. Just remember that. Here is the Activate Float. They touched down in Puerto Rico today. This to support their mission of pulling people out of flooded houses, cutting trees with chainsaws to help provide access, and saving our beloved pets. Donate to the GoFundMe Operation Float Florida.
Yeah.
They've been on their own tiny personal shoestring budgets, saving lives all over the country. Let's show them some love. They are our residents' verified scouts. They just make this stuff up.
Oh, yeah.
They're saving lives. They're chopping down trees.
They're saving animals.
And we're just supposed to believe that they're really doing this stuff. All they do is go take selfies with victims and go, we're doing stuff.
Yep.
When really, they're taking pictures with buckets and it looks like they're picking up trash. And they're driving around getting drunk on a multi-person bicycle.
Yeah.
Can you read more of that?
Yeah, they've been on their own tiny personal shoestring budgets, saving lives all over the country. Let's show them some love. They are resident verified scouts on the ground where our hearts live on Isa de Encanta. To mail goods directly to the staging warehouse in Operation Float, purchase from www.shop.com, blah, blah, blah. And a portion of the proceeds of your purchase will be donated to our nonprofit to support these programs.
They're nonprofit?
Yeah, they're nonprofit.
They're nonprofit?
Yeah.
They said they're nonprofit.
Yeah. And
Nonprofit means nonprofit, right?
Yeah, well.
What is implied? Keep going.
Oh, yeah.
There's a picture there. Remember I showed you some pictures that had Jana Stone and Catalina, the woman that's in that green shirt right there in the darkness?
Mm-hmm.
That's her wearing the same clothes.
It is. Yeah, that's right.
And it's dark, as you can see.
It's dark. Same time.
And if you scroll down, who's in that? Who's tagged in this Activate Now video? That's Ed Higgins' defunct fake news organization.
Yeah.
Who's tagged in this video?
Jana Stone, Payu, Vane, Ethne Gazzotti,
And
Dennis Cullen Price, Gualan Barvar, John Bob Carlos, Urban Paradise Guild, Betty
Osceola,
and Operation Float.
Okay. Here's the Black Flag Volunteers. This is what they're doing. This is them recruiting people to go to Puerto Rico and volunteer. Could you read that one too?
Yeah, let's be a little bigger. It's like Operation Float. Share the post. Support the search and rescue teams on the ground at Puerto Rico. We love you, team. Our boots on the ground are representing. Black Flag SAR is working in Corvallis, Puerto Rico, an area especially devastated by Hurricane Maria. Currently, this town has received 1 delivery of water and 1 delivery of food total. People on a half-case ration of water every day for drinking. We need to raise money to rent U-Haul truck to bring supplies and distribute them where they are most needed. Please help us by donating funds. If you'd like to make this free gift, you can simply donate via PayPal to Jana Stone at Gmail. If you need a tax receipt, please donate through Operation Float at yahoo.com. Specifically, the donation goes to Black Flag SAR. To receive a receipt, email a copy of PayPal receipt to everydayheroessquad@gmail.com and include your name and address. For more information, go to blah, 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 blah. Urgent need for a community in Puerto Rico, 10/5/2017. Just follow our volunteer efforts at Facebook at blah, blah, blah.
Now, people from Black Flag went on to later post, along with other folks that were in Puerto Rico with Ed Higgins and Jana Stone, his gal pal, his new girlfriend, I guess, whom she supported in taking, and so did Terrence Daniel, in taking to a person's property where they caused property damage both to the home and to a vehicle that was loaned to them from the same woman. We'll be showing you what these people actually do in disaster areas, what they're involved in doing in these areas, what they're alleged to have been doing while they were there, what they were really doing while they were there. But this is what they claim they're doing. And if you could put that back up for just a second, I wanted to comment on one of the things that it says.
Okay.
Because they're talking about recruiting for the U-Haul and what else? Water.
Yeah, they want to get U-Haul to be able to deliver water.
Right. Of course. They want to deliver water.
That's what they said in here.
Yeah, they want to deliver water. Sure, they want to deliver water. And they want you to donate so that they can take care of all of this. And who are you supposed to give this money to? You're supposed to give it to the girlfriend of the guy that was involved in covering up the rape of Lacey Jean Williams? Is that who you're supposed to give the money to? A guy that's involved in sexually assaulting Missy Waddell? You're supposed to give your money to a woman that is uplifting a person that is accused of multiple sexual assaults. Yeah. Folks, if you want to know how come Kavanaugh got into the highest court of the land and why you have a pussy-grabbing president, it is because we allow this kind of thing to happen without saying boo about it. We don't do anything to stop these predators. And in fact, we have people like Jana Stone and Black Flag Search and Rescue and the Aloha Movement Project, giving these people renewed opportunities to harm others. That's why we have these ongoing problems. Next, I want to show you a picture of them, those people that are on the ground that they were just talking about. Give us money so we can help our people on the ground. Mm-hmm. Here's Paiu Vane. He's standing there looking like a cop there on the end with a hat.
Okay.
He's the one that's wearing all that looks like military gear. Him and Bill Runningfisher and, Bonvo Lodge strike me as people that once upon a time wanted to be cops.
Yeah.
And so desperately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They want to pass themselves off as rangers like Billy Runningfisher did, as they want to pass themselves as U.S. Marshals like Bill Runningfisher did, as cops like he also did in the past, impersonating a cop, which he had to go to court for, and telling people that they're part of the military, part of the police, part of the authoritarian system, when these mofos can't even make it as mall cops.
Yeah, I mean, really, exactly.
They're nothing. They have, and it's just like these entitled people like Mulaney Stoneman and Christina Hollenbeck that can walk in somewhere and go, "I'm a medic." No, you ain't. No, you're not a medic. So don't misrepresent. These people aren't just disaster vultures causing people hate, causing people harm, like they did to Kathleen Bennett and her mom. These are people that are passing themselves off as medics when they're not, as lawyers when they're not, as doctors when they're not. That's dangerous. That puts people's lives in danger. And they did it. They did it to Kathleen Bennett's mom. The next one here is Float's Fund. Their volunteers are supposed to be, according to this post here, where Janice Stone and Paiu Vane can be seen. Yeah. With Geo. If you scroll down there, you'll see they said volunteer op, right? Yeah. And all the way at the bottom, this is from November 2nd with Janice Stone. Can you read that, hun?
Sure. Black Flag SAR is in need of a few volunteers in Puerto Rico with specific skills ASAP. For a few days to a few weeks, plumbers, carpenters, electricians, painters, wall more than canvas, permaculture, gardening specialists, bring your tools, self-fund your trip, and we guarantee you a place to sleep. An amazingly settled position in a disaster zone, lots of laughs, and an incredible sense of accomplishment. Oh, and you'll never be the same after experiencing the love from this place. We are starting our next project Monday, and we need your help. Tag and share your peeps, please, peeps.
This all expense paid by you. You have to fund your own trip, basically, is what it's saying, right? So they're taking in donations so they can send people to Puerto Rico, but they're not going to use it because you have to fund your own travel there. Yeah. You have to fund, if you get there, however, they do promise you a place to stay. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Isn't that what they said to people of Standing Rock? Mm-hmm. Bring your own things. Yep. Make sure that you can take care of yourself. Bring some donations for us too. Yep. But if you get here, we'll have food and we'll have a place for you to stay. Did they have that? Did they have that for the veterans?
No.
No. They were running around saying, like Mulaney Stoneman did, we're collecting money for an evacuation vehicle. We're collecting money so we can send people home that get stranded here. Yep. Did they do that for Mary and Kathleen?
Nope.
No. I suppose they didn't do that for anybody. I suppose they pocketed that money, pocketed the donations for themselves, and I suppose they're going to do it again. Go back to that post for a minute, because I want to focus on the lies and how they do it. There's a pattern. Mm-hmm. Do you notice the pattern?
Yes.
So they've shown you, bring your own tools, fund your own trip. We're going to guarantee you this thing. They can't guarantee anything. These people should not be allowed to make any kinds of claims like this because they lie. They don't follow through. And they get innocent people to hook onto this. Sadly, many of these innocent people are well-meaning white folks and people that want to go and be a hero, and they want to participate as a disaster vulture too. They don't realize that disaster tourism is gross and racist and appropriative and capitalistic, and it's like Columbusing. It's Columbusing, for God's sake. Why would you go do that to people who are vulnerable in a disaster zone? That's disgusting. You want a t-shirt? It says right there, you'll leave with this incredible feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah.
So that they're literally telling you, you can go on a disaster tour to take advantage of the suffering of these people after a hurricane, and you'll get a cruise, a place to stay. We'll give you a t-shirt that says, I'm a good person. I help people. I'm a water protector. I'm a blah, blah, blah. That is what these people want. And they want a certificate, a signed certificate that says, I'm a hero. And you know what? People like Christina Hollenbeck of the Nexus Group of Inherited Billionaire Wealth think they can buy that. They can buy their plaque that says, I'm a good person. And what they use it for is to go to these super expensive posh places like I told you they hold conferences at.
Yep.
And they get people to impact invest in different places. And they make businesses. One of the businesses they've been trying to push here that I've shown you, many of them are completely fraudulent, of course, right? Like the cold fusion stuff they're trying to peddle. But some of them have to do with the current trend, which is green energy, right?
Yeah.
You saw the thing they're trying to do with Solve MIT. You know those folks are frauds. We know those folks are all frauds because of what they've already said and done at Standing Rock, of how they've already pocketed the money from this and that and the other thing. Maza coin, all of this other nonsense. It's just a way for them to capitalize on fraudulent ventures at this particular time. So next I have a video of exactly what these folks are really up to. Remember, I'm about to show you a video of Jonathan Fritzler, who is the executive director, I guess you would call him, or the owner of the trademark, the Aloha Movement Project, under which all of these dark money organizations who are claiming to be nonprofits, which I think is very misleading to the public, are umbrellaed under, are shell corporation hidden under. This is Jonathan Fritzler making a video in Puerto Rico, and he tells you what he's really there to do. Here's a clip.
Hola and aloha everyone. Jonathan here, hanging out in the beautiful beaches of Puerto Rico. And I just wanted to give you guys a quick glimpse here into the current situation that is being cultivated here on the island. First though, I just want to show you where I'm at right now. This is just, what's happening. And I can't complain, life is good. But what I'm more excited about than this gorgeous view is what is going to happen tomorrow. It completely was a synchronicity that when I was hanging out watching Dead Prez and the Wu-Tang Clan and all these big gangster artists, I was able to meet a man who was interested and enticed by the organization, the Everyday Hero Project, that I'm on the board for as the treasurer, and the work that we've been doing in nonprofit initiatives and disaster relief here in Puerto Rico. Last year we were able to bring a bunch of supplies and money to support the people here who had lost their homes. The roofs on their homes had been ripped off. A lot of people had died, and it was absolute destruction and devastation. And so we did everything that we could to find all the organizations that were doing good work, team up with them, and support. So we teamed up with a search and rescue team. We're going to be interviewing them tomorrow. We're also going to be interviewing some of the people who are running a hospital on the west side of the island. And I am super excited because, oh my God, you guys, there was a hospital that was uninhabited for about 10 years, and it was donated to this group of people. So basically, we have been donated a hospital, and we were able to get some supplies in there, and now they are fully operating. They have a pharmacy. It's completely moving, and what's happening now is that I met this guy backstage at this event last night who's down to give us solar panels on the roof. So I get to bring this guy. He wants to come with us tomorrow. We have a film crew. We've got NPR is going to be joining us. We've got a team that's growing that right now is about 7 skilled laborers and volunteers, maybe even more. Our caravan of everyday heroes is growing, and we're here with the Everyday Hero Project, nonprofit organization, and it all happened right here in this gorgeous hotel. And it was crazy because I was at this cryptocurrency conference, and I was grateful to be sponsored to come here to attend for the Canadian conference that we're going to be organizing for the blockchain, and we're doing 2 of them this year, 2 big blockchain events that I'm excited to tell you guys about. But I was here, and we had been doing all this work for Puerto Rico, and I'd always wanted to come, but I've never been here before. So boom, I get to come here, and now we're coming, not only just to say hi, but we're going to come with a film crew. We're going to get some interviews, do a little mini documentary about the work that was done, and have a crew of people to come and help. One of the guys that we're going to be interviewing, Anthony, he's from search and rescue team that was the first search and rescue team to land on the ground here at Puerto Rico after the hurricane. So it's like a really big story, a lot of energy, a lot of momentum's coming together. I'm super exhausted. I've been going non-stop networking at these events. The technologies here are out of this world. One of the technologies is donating their blockchain platform that basically is for the medical institution, so that people, you and me, can own our own medical data, which means I put all my medical data, all my history up on my own protected platform, and then I can sell that data if I want, or if I don't want to, I don't have to. But if you sell your data and there's like some test that's going on where like they need a certain blood type or a certain genome type, and you're that type, you could get paid like $2,000. And for somebody in a third world country, that would literally pay for them for the entire year. So this is big stuff, you guys. This is just one example of the decentralized blockchain network that's being created right now on our planet. And I'm super excited to be a part of it. I think you should be too. And I think that we should all, embrace technology and explore how can we get involved, and how can we make a big impact, and hopefully how can we make a lot of money and have a lot of fun at the same time. So, Meanwhile, I just had to share this with you guys. I mean, it's too beautiful. And I'm really embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to say that I literally haven't even been in the ocean here yet. I've been here for like 4 days. I have not been in the ocean, but I've been in these like collared shirts and top hats, and been networking nonstop with these incredible companies, and I feel like it's all gonna pay off when my buddy Bill gets out here, my surfing brother from Hawaii, who ironically, weeks before I even knew I was going to be here, sent me a message saying, hey man, you wanna go surf in Puerto Rico, go on a surf trip? And I was like, man, I don't know if I can swing that right now because of my schedule, Next thing you know, I get a sponsor to come out here, and I'm like, dude, let's go to Puerto Rico. And he's coming out. I haven't seen him in years. He's a legendary brother. So after we do all this work, after we do all the the service work and the networking, and it all pays off when we get to go jump in the water.
Yeah, I was looking for the Corona beer to be by his feet there. Hey, wait a minute, wasn't this guy doing disaster relief?
That's what he's saying that he's doing with Anthony Gazzotti.
Okay.
He's talking about Anthony Gazzotti, and he's saying, like, we're here networking, and we got this hospital donated to our nonprofit organization, Everyday Hero Project. Excuse me? Is Everyday Hero Project, as we have discussed in looking at Catalina Tiamson's, his partner, Florida organization, Everyday Hero Project, and the Canine Boondocks, and all of those that we talked about, Are they nonprofits?
Yeah.
No, they're not. The Aloha Movement Project is a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
And we showed you that they have umbrellaed the Everyday Hero Project under Jonathan Fritzler. How much do you think a hospital is worth? He said they got a donated hospital. How much is that worth? A building being donated to you?
Lots.
Is that less than $50,000?
No.
How much are the solar panels, the generators, all the stuff that they're putting on this hospital worth? I mean, how much is a roof full of solar panels worth? Guesstimate.
I don't know. A roof full of solar panels would be quite expensive with all the stuff you need. Probably like $5,000 for a house.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking thousands of dollars worth of solar panels. I hope you guys are adding up math in your head out there.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about what these people are reporting their organization does on paper to the IRS and to the, government, which many of them don't because they're defunct and they're not real nonprofits. But they say that they are. And what kind of a director does this guy seem like? Dude.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm so tired. I'm wearing top hats and I'm networking. Networking, I think, is code for party hardy, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Because this guy does not look like he has done a hard day's work in his life. And as you can hear, the mantra of what he really cares about, what all of these people really care about, is echoed throughout his message.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to work hard, make a big impact. Christina Hollenbeck words, big impact, impact investing, impact, make an impact, make money, and have fun doing it. You have to have money making and having fun involved. That's how they make an impact. Otherwise, they don't give a rat's butt about you, your disaster, your grandma in the hospital. They don't care. They're there to make an impact, to get a selfie and go, I've made an impact, to get on the news, to use their media, partners, Democracy Now!, The Intercept, NPR apparently is going in there to interview these folks. And make them famous. They used TYT. They used Truth Against the Machine. They used all of these apparatuses to make a bunch of frauds and literally criminals famous. After Standing Rock, after Hurricane this, and after Hurricane that, and after Hurricane Puerto Rico, after Hurricane Maria, they did the same thing, and they're continuing to do the same thing. Isn't it laid bare, crystal clear for you that these people are opportunists? In my next upcoming show, I will show you more about what Jonathan Fritzler does and the people that are doing it with him and what they look like, because they look like partiers. They all look like they are there to party on a vacation. They don't really care about any of this stuff. It's really disgusting.
It is.
And they're funding them with dark money. There's no accountability. And they're taking resources away. Don't forget, they're taking resources away from people that really need them.
Yep.
Here's Corey Fritz, the guy that I showed you in my last show, just briefly, and Catalina Tiamson. Catalina Tiamson is Jonathan Fritzler's partner in the Aloha Project movement. She is the head of the Activate Now, whatever thing with Ed Higgins, and the Everyday Hero Project. And here she is with Jonathan Fritz. And Jonathan Fritz is talking about
Corey Fritz.
Corey Fritz. I'm sorry. Fritzler and Fritz sound so familiar. I get them confused.
I was like, wait, that's not that.
Catalina Thompson posted on September 10th. Only took us 1 year to meet. 3 days intensive with Corey Fritz. Get the
something done.
The poop done week. Get the poop done week. I can't. That's a bad word. I'm not going to repeat. Love the fact that he wants to attend the cooperative business class. Remember, they're doing disaster relief.
Yep.
By Florida Cooperative Empowered Economic Development, facilitated by Judith Turner. These people they're investors and they're making money they're the disaster capitalists that Naomi should be talking about. But instead, she puts them in The Intercept and acts as if they're the movers and shakers of tomorrow. They're the ones doing the good thing. That is such a deceitful message.
Yep, definitely.
We're reporting on the bad people. These aren't them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a red herring. It's a deliberate ruse to get us to fund and follow the very thing that they're talking negatively about.
Mm-hmm.
It's disgusting. So here is a video of this Corey Fritz, which you just saw with Catalina Thompson in that picture, in a video talking about the hospital. And I think this one I played all the way through.
Yep.
Watch until the very end, because you'll see Jonathan Fritzler in a group photo with some of the people that are mentioned in the video by Corey Fritz. And he's going to kind of give you a rundown of when they got there, what they were doing with whom. He's going to name drop some people in there and some organizations, including the ones that you've already heard us talking about that are associated with Jonathan Fritzler's Aloha Project movement thing and Catalina Thompson. In addition to telling you how they got the hospital, who they got the hospital from, and who they're working with. Okay? Here is Corey Fritz.
Well, my name is Corey Fritz, and officially I'm the managing director of the Free Healthcare Clinic of Quebradillas, and also the president and the founder of the organized body that runs the clinic here, called One Human Family Coalition. That manages the operations here in the clinic. Spent a lot of last year asking a lot of questions about my life and figuring out what the heck the last 5 years have been for. And then Hurricane Irma comes along, and on September the 10th, Hurricane Irma makes landfall right there on Summerlin Key, Florida, right where I lived, and it consumed the 5 keys surrounding Summerlin Key, which was my entire community. And just because I was worried about my friends and my family, I ended up getting involved into coordinating resources, supplies, and search and rescue teams in the Florida Keys. And I believe that is where I first met Catalina from Everyday Hero Project. My work expanded to coordinating resources and supplies for a city called Everglades City in South Florida, as well as a city called Immokalee. And me and Catalina worked really hand in hand in trying to get supplies and resources to Immokalee. As my work was slowing down in the Florida Keys, I thought my humanitarian job was over with. It was something that was brand new to me anyways, that I stumbled into. And then I got asked to help with just a simple task here in Puerto Rico, and that was to find an airplane for 5 people who wanted to come down and do some help, do some work here on the island. And I searched and searched for a plane, couldn't find one, and kind of in a last-ditch effort, I made sent a message out to a group called Black Jaguar, White Tiger on Instagram. And they immediately posted my message to their millions and millions of followers, and my phone started ringing off the hook. And that's where I met a couple people who were involved with this clinic. At that time, it was an abandoned facility. That was on September the 24th when I first came across this abandoned facility. I ended up finding an airplane which flew that first team of 5 people down to Puerto Rico on September the 27th. After they got back a hold of me, said they had nowhere to go in Puerto Rico, I said, well, why don't you come over to this abandoned hospital and you can start cleaning it up, because we're trying to reopen it. So made sure that they got picked up, brought over here to what was just an abandoned building. And they went to work on it, cleaning it up, mopping, sweeping, cleaning stuff I don't want to mention on camera. And in the 2.5 weeks that they worked, between the time they arrived and the time we opened, I worked hard to find the necessary resources to get to the clinic, along with those 5 people, the first medical group, the first shipment of supplies, what was a solar power company that ended up falling through. But 2.5 weeks later, after the first team arrived here in the clinic, Actually, about 2 weeks later, I spoke to the mayor by accident here in this town. And I told the mayor, I said, Mayor, you have this coming, you have this coming, you have this coming. By the end of the day Friday, your hospital is going to be ready to open after 10 years. And meanwhile, I was sitting in my bedroom in St. Louis. So I remember getting off the phone and thinking, oh my gosh, what did I just do? I hope it all works out. But Friday morning, the doors open actually ahead of schedule. We saw 4 patients that first day, 17 the next day on Saturday, and this building was officially open. We had 6 medical volunteers that were down here, which is some supplies they were able to bring and some other supplies that were donated. And that's what we opened with. And after that medical group left, the municipality then brought some local nurses and a doctor here to continue serving. And we've been able to keep this clinic open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 p.m. Up until now. It's now, what, 6 months later, I guess? And we've seen well more than 1,000 patients. And it is now developing into a free hospital, a non-profit hospital that offers free care, free medications, free health care. Everything is free. A lot of organizations are trying to come up with solutions to help out, including Catalina and us here, and she mentioned water generators, and there's a man by the name of Moses out in Vieques who installed a water generator that's running beautifully out there. And so, yeah, trying to come up with solutions, because dealing with water rations for 5 to 6 years, that does not sound like a lot of fun. Those problems for them, and in the process of talking with them, I made sure that their first stop was going to be here at this clinic with their 30,000 pounds of supplies. They're going to load us up, and I told them, I said, if you do that for us, I'll be able to, make sure you keep your container and have it transported. And they said, okay, so we'll load up your clinic. So then made the necessary phone calls. One of them actually led to the former general of the Puerto Rican National Guard, who played an instrumental role in them keeping their container once it landed. And then another group by the name of Boondocks Search and Rescue did all the transports. And because they transported, I also told the people with the supplies, okay, your second stop should be at this place called Kamui, where they have people that are in need. So first stop clinic, load us up. Second stop, go to where these people are that are transporting, and then you can take your supplies anywhere else. But if you can do that, then I'll make sure that it all works out for you. And that's basically how we've operated into getting supplies, medications, and staff through here. So the Monday that I spoke to the mayor before we opened, I wasn't even supposed to talk to him. It was a complete accident that I ended up in conversation with this mayor. And I told him at the end of the week, your hospital's going to be ready to open. You have this coming. This is all we got. That he then stepped up and filled in the gaps. One of them was bringing the generator over here and hooking it up. So then now the municipality shows up, daily basis, every other day, to keep it filled with, gas to keep it running. So any type of funding up to this point has come from the municipality, and it's been merely a matter of keeping lights on, or they've paid some of the staff. At first, all the staff are volunteers, including local, but in order to keep them, the municipality put a contract with 3 nurses and 1 doctor, I believe, to give them some sort of living wage only for so long. So any type of funds that have been used for this place has been from the municipality, but it's also been very, very minimal. Like I said, it was a very unique situation with the disaster, and with so many people wanting help, and also so many people not knowing how. Getting creative and problem solving, and it was amazing. The container that we brought in, while they were confiscating other containers around the one that's being brought in, that was for us. The container came in on Saturday. The port was only open till noon on Saturday. We think, oh my gosh, they're just going to take it. Former general of the Puerto Rican National Guard, who's here in Quebradillas, stepped up to the plate, and they opened the port special for us on Sunday to go in and get our container. They only opened up the port for us to get our container. In San Juan. in San Juan where all of the containers are being confiscated. But you know, there are so many little issues to solve, like the labeling of each pallet was very important. You know, the shipper, you know, who's receiving it, all of that were very important details, but we figured out the answers to all of them. And not only we get our container, but we got it on a Sunday when they're closed. So, big win.
How did you get it here? 2 was pretty washed out. I mean, there's a lot of traffic, but like, you know, the whole truck driver thing, they're like, oh, New York truck drivers, we're going down there, we're going to save Puerto Rico because the truck drivers are on strike, and there was all this like misinformation about that. Like, did Obama drive the truck?
No, Obama didn't. This is where this group called Boondocks came into play, and this group has been, they are just incredible, headed up by Luis Vega, and they do CERT training, and I mean he trains dogs for the Army and the police force, and it's an incredible organization. But they're the ones that did the transport. So
based here?
I believe technically they're based out of Florida, but they're here. I mean, they've been here and working here nonstop, and so yeah, no, they went down and picked it up, and you know, we brought it across too, all the way out here. First stop was here, and actually, believe it or not, this clinic has fought so many battles to stay alive. There's been many organizations that have tried to come in and basically take this property. One, I'm not going to name any names, but one organization went directly to the mayor, apparently with $30,000 laid in front of him and said, give it to me. We've had people that have showed up here to quote unquote help, but really they're here kind of spying for someone else to basically try to infiltrate and take over this property, you know, take over this clinic and whatnot. So it's fought its battles, but when the container first showed up, it was actually rerouted to go be stored somewhere else because there were a few different groups on the property here, and they were getting into a heated battle. They heard all these supplies were coming, and at that time there were some groups that were stealing supplies from other people, some of them by force. I remember hearing about a plane landing in Aguadilla and a group showing up and basically taking all the supplies out of that plane by force, and people being harassed physically even, and supplies being stolen. So word kind of, man, we were trying to be quiet about everything we were doing in the beginning, but word got out that we had all these supplies coming in here and coming to the clinic. So all of a sudden people started hanging around the property, and when the supplies were supposed to first land, there were way too many people here. There were bad news, and there was a big clash that night actually between them, and Anthony could tell you a lot about that because he was right in the middle of it. But the supplies got rerouted and kind of set aside for a day, you know, until the air cleared. And then we loaded up the hospital and sent it on to Kamui to help Luis Vega and Boondocks and the people up there. Let's see, the first group that showed up down here, the team of 5 that first started cleaning, they were called Black Flag Search and Rescue, played an instrumental role. The vision for the future of this clinic, it's actually relatively simple, to be a fully operating, self-sustained hospital that delivers free care, and to deliver health care to the people who are otherwise not able to receive it for any reason. And that's what we're here for. We're here to help the people that can't help themselves, and very importantly, help them get to the point where they can help themselves, whatever that may mean. Because we're not here to do everything and run away. We're here to help people help themselves in every way, shape, and form possible. Well, it's truly amazing how much impact even the smallest act of kindness can have, and also how far that impact can spread. The biggest question that has driven me is right here on my wrist. It says, "What more can I do?" And and you can apply this question, large and small, into every moment of your life. You know, at the end of every single day, there's a very simple concept that we all believe here, and that is, at the end of every single day, all we are is simply how we treat each other. And we come across human-to-human contact every single day, all day long, whether you're at the office, whether you're at the gas station, whether you're at home with your wife or husband. But all we are at the end of every single day is very simply how we treat each other. And that's it. So you keep that in mind and ask yourself what more you can do, because once again, it is truly, truly amazing how much impact even the smallest act of kindness can have. And it's when miracles do happen, it's really interesting where the miracle started and how small the miracle started.
So I have a lot of questions about that video and a lot of comments about that video. And I wanted to start out by just pointing out some of the things that he said that are significant that we, as an audience, should be paying attention to. And one of those is that he said, and just kind of glazed over it in the quickest fashion, it was a solar company that ended up falling through. He's like, blah, blah, blah. What about the solar company?
Mm-hmm.
What about the solar company? Remember, I'm talking to you about green energy here.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to hear a lot of people talk about solar panels. We heard all of that stuff out at Standing Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And they compost toilets and solar panels and wind energy and all of these wonderful things. Where is this eco-village now? What happened to all the donations?
Mm-hmm.
You see them using the drones, probably the ones that they were supposed to be using at Standing Rock. They're using them out there.
Yep.
You know, they were using them in the last show that I showed you. Also, does Corey Fritz look like a medical director to you just because you put on some scrubs? I'm not a real doctor, but I play one on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Did this guy stay at a Holiday Inn and to just go, I'm going to go be a medical director in Puerto Rico? What the hell is going on with this Corey Fritz guy? All of these people just call themselves medics, journalists, whatever, doctors, lawyers. They're not. And nobody asks, where are your credentials?
Exactly.
501c3s. Is it verifiable? I don't know. I wouldn't let this guy practice on my cat because I don't. And also, aren't medical facility directors usually people that have like a master's degree in business management or something to do with the medical field?
Exactly.
Because plane rides on charter planes for 5 people that he's talking about on here are not easy to get, cheap. Can you find a plane that will, a charter plane that will take 5 people in an emergency to anywhere on the planet?
No. Unless they had a lot of money.
It's very, very strange that they can't do this. I mean, that they can do this to me. And then he says, this is a non-profit hospital.
Yeah.
This is a non-profit hospital. Which is the non-profit? He's got to be talking about the Aloha Movement Project, which we just saw Jonathan Fritzler saying, we just got a hospital donated to us.
Yeah, really.
This is said hospital. This is the guy running said hospital. Does he have a medical background? Not that he's ever talked about. Not that can be found anywhere. So what's he doing running a medical facility? Who the hell knows? But doesn't this echo of Standing Rock with their mini Wachoni clinic? Everyone gets free medical care.
That's right.
And everyone gets a free education. Donate to us so we can take care of all of these people for free. That's what we're doing. We're giving them free care. What did they do for Kathleen Bennett and her mom? They took her mother away. They wanted to perform a rape kit on her. They took her out of the comfort of the tarpy that they were in and sent them to IHS, left them stranded there in a snowstorm. That's what these medical professionals and volunteers that were at Standing Rock did. Vanessa Bolin and 8 Ball, the other woman that was in that tarpy, what did they do? Knowing that this woman had dementia, knowing that her daughter was the only person that knew her medical history and could speak for her, knowing that she was not the victim of a rape or a sexual assault or any kind of assault at all, because by their own admission, they said these things to me. I'm going to be bringing you in an upcoming show the testimony in the interview with 8 Ball, the other paramedic that was with the Vanessa Bolin, where she admits that she knew that this woman had dementia, that she was not the victim of a sexual assault, which was what the call was on the radio for, that they were sent that day that they took Mary Trujillo and sent her to a hospital to die. These 2 women who claimed to be medical volunteers at Standing Rock, one a former paramedic, another a former cop and paramedic, and possibly even an EMT, like so many of the others involved in those 3 different so-called checks.
Yeah.
In the first so-called check, there was 2 people that were supposedly part of the medical a team at the camp that went there to seek Mary Trujillo because she was supposedly raped. Mulaney Stoneman ordered them, according to the records they signed and gave over to the police, that they knew that she did not have a sexual assault, and that Mulaney Stoneman told them to send her, the Women's Society told them to send her to the IHS anyway. That's what they did for this vulnerable adult. They sent her to a hospital with her daughter in the middle of a snowstorm and left her there stranded. And then they wanted her to have a rape kit performed on her. Mulaney wanted this so badly she tried to do it several times. Then they had Bill Runningfisher claim, and Mulaney and Christina Hollenbeck plot to remove Kathleen Bennett and her mom off to the casino. During which time they also fabricated a story and said that she, Kathleen Bennett, had left her mother alone in a tarpy inside of the camp, naked from the waist down, covered in her own excrement and urine in a frozen tent with no heating source. A clear case of what would be considered in the media and across the country a monstrosity of elder abuse. A complete fabrication by a fake U.S. Marshal, Bill Runningfisher. And on the third try, they said again she had been raped. And Jessica Piercy, a.k.a. 8-Ball, and Vanessa Bolin, a.k.a. Red Bull, Bolin, were responsible in the camp, supposedly with their medical backgrounds. Do we know if Vanessa Bolin is even licensed to do medical care? In the past or in the present? Who knows? We had the Dee Banerjee, who was saying that she was a nurse and she was promoting a lot of phonies and criminals out at the camp and afterwards. Do we know if she had a medical license? No, we don't know. Is it current? No, we don't know. Do we know if 8-Ball was really a cop and or is currently a cop or any kind of law enforcement and or is currently a medic or was formerly an EMT? No. But they took on those roles and they committed a crime under the color of that authority. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? They admitted to it. That's what they were doing then. I can only assume that these clowns, if they're masquerading as medics and don't actually have any medical background, is what they're doing there too.
Exactly.
And they're putting people in danger for their disaster tourism experience. Just so that they can call themselves, I'm the medical director of a hospital.
Yeah.
Listen to what he says he did. He's like, it's a miracle. I got a charter plane. Right away, we brought over these people. Anthony, he's a great guy. Boondocks, they train dogs for the cop. They do CERT training for dogs for the Army and for the police. Wow, these are very highly accredited people. Just like Bill Runningfisher worked with FEMA and Homeland Security.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude can't even be a mall cop, but he's got all of the credentials. And then he's talking about all the things that they did, and it's a miracle. If it sounds too good to be true, folks, it is too good to be true. These people have just shown you selfies and their own homemade videos. They're very unprofessional and hardly believable. But then, of course, you have people like Naomi Klein and NPR and TYT and Democracy Now! Legitimizing even the most laughable of phonies in these stories. And I guess I can see why people fall for it, hook, line, and sinker, and don't even dig beneath the surface a little bit to find out if any of their claims are true. And let's not forget the fact that they're saying, again, you're going to get free housing. If you come here and volunteer, there's going to be a free building. There's going to be a free medical clinic.
Yeah.
All you got to do is get here, just like they did at Standing Rock. They're offering the same kinds of things. They're claiming the National Guards helped them get their shipping container with their supplies, and that not only that, supplies were being stolen. Supplies are usually being taken by locals because it's not called rioting and looting when you're survivors of a hurricane.
Yeah.
And why are you taking up those resources that should be going to those folks? I'm going to show you that they were actually having locals attack them. and the Boondocks dogs that they brought over were actually being used to keep local people from getting at those resources that they were clamoring for, demanding. I don't know if you've noticed this so far, but all of these people that are the everyday heroes and the black flag, blackers, whatever, the Boondockers, none of them are locals to Puerto Rico. None of them are Puerto Rican themselves. Most of them aren't even people of color or the type of people that are supposed to be representing the most affected in any of these tragedies that we've talked to. Whether it's representing transracial, you have a transracial Miwok Indian like Desiree Kane representing Lakotas, or a Filipino like Angelo Sison Wolf, whatever his name is, representing Lakotas. Now we have everyday heroes representing Puerto Ricans. And also, they keep saying only their container was accessible. Look at the entitlement and look at the affluenza that these people can operate on, if they're even telling the truth, because they're claiming that the government of Puerto Rico is confiscating all other supplies, all other shipping containers, all other donations and support. So these white people and their sold-out allies from the mainland, and included in all of these different fraudulent and defunct organizations, they're the only help.
Wow.
They're the only hope. If you don't get help from them, you ain't got no help.
Yep.
So donate to them, because the government and all these other organizations, they're no good. Remember when Veterans Respond was saying that about Veterans Stand? And when they all started like saying, don't give to them, give to me.
That's right.
Go fund me, don't go fund them. They're all just money grubbing, greedy, disaster vulture capitalists. That's what these people are. That's what they're doing. And I don't believe that they were the only ones that had access to supplies. I don't believe that. I don't know how to believe anything that they say is true, or how to verify that what they say is true, because they offer zero proof other than screenshots and little videos that they make themselves. And they said they were able to get their container with the help of the National Guard.
Yeah.
They're claiming that not only that, they got it on a Sunday when the place was closed down. So they have that kind of special access.
Yes.
That they have the mayor of the town give them a free hospital, and they have the National Guard get their shipping container on a day when they're closed. Like, they run the government, they run the Navy, they run the Army, they run the National Guard. These people are like gods. I mean, what can't they do? And he asks about, his little wristband. Those what would Jesus do wristbands. Like, I look at my wristband and I ask myself, what more can I do? You know what more you can do, folks? Ask questions of these people. Ask and verify that any of this stuff is true. Because pontificating about how you follow some mantra on a wristband isn't the same as actually helping people. And a lot of what I saw in the groups of people that these folks ran with, they're the same people that committed crimes against Kathleen Bennett and her mom, and went on to commit a whole host of crimes and frauds across the country, and violent crimes and rapes against other folks. And they're going to continue to do that as long as you let them, as long as you don't hold them accountable. That's why it's important to hold them accountable. Here's that plane they were talking about. This is the search and rescue, Black Flag Search and Rescue. And remember that one family coalition that he was talking about that came and cleaned up the you-know-what out of the you-know-where, you can't say. Well, it's one human coalition in Black Flag Search and Rescue is being talked about on their post on October 9, 2017. Can you read that, Ann?
Yeah, Black Flag Search and Rescue has proven to be invaluable to the success of OHFC in providing relief to the people of Puerto Rico. BFSAR were the first boots to arrive at the hospital nearly 2 weeks ago. In that time, they have tirelessly cleaned and prepared the facility, clearing roads and performing SAR for citizens. Been in contact with the mayor, have done much more. This amazing group of people have accomplished far more than I could have ever imagined 2 weeks ago.
You know why? Because it's probably not true.
Exactly.
Look at They're in a private jet.
And there's 3 people sitting there.
Mm-hmm. Remember that Corey Fritz said that he had to get a plane for 5 folks, right?
Yep.
Here are some of the folks in that plane. It's Janice Stone down there in the corner with her purple glasses on.
Okay.
The girlfriend of Ed Higgins, according to Victoria Dargan.
Yes.
Which I had on my last show called Disaster Vultures. If you want to go back and catch up with that one, you can go to kpppfm.com and check out all of the past shows on this topic. Who else is next to her with his hat that has some kind of, is it some military thing or something, or it looks like some kind of cop shield or something? Yeah. He's one of those Bill Running Fisher types that likes to pretend to be some kind of authority figure. That guy wants to play a cop. Jana claims to be a nurse, or maybe she's playing one, just like Dee Dee Banerjee, you know, and Mulaney Stoneman and Christina Hollenbeck. Those ladies all want to pretend to be nurses or doctors. Like Linda Black Elk. Like, I'm a medic. What are you going to be, huh, Duke?
Yeah.
What costume are you going to wear? I'm going to be a doctor's medical facility director. What are you going to do? I'm going to be an impact investor. What are you going to be?
That's right. I'm going to sit on the beach.
And there, of course, is also Anthony Gazzotti. What's in those things over there? It looks like a bunch of treats. It looks like a basket you would lay out for kids on trick or treat. And do these people look like they're going on vacation or to a disaster? Again, everything is very clear here. And I remind you once again that these disaster vultures could be coming to the next nearest disaster.
Yep.
They're already there, folks.
Yes.
They're already there. You want to keep giving them their money? Go right ahead. But know what kinds of things they have done in the past and what kinds of things are capable of doing, including killing people, raping people, and robbing people. Skip that next one and let's go to SAR Black, which is the Search and Rescue Black flag. One Human Coalition posts on October 20th. Could you read that one, Stevie?
Exactly 3 weeks ago, the SAR team Black Flag arrived to a vacant and dirty facility once used as a hospital. 2 weeks later, this once vacant facility opened as a free walk-in clinic for the purpose of quebradillas. Now, exactly 1 week after opening, the walk-in clinic has served more than 200 people. Just imagine how many smiles that adds to the people, how many happy hearts, even at just for one moment. Love is begging to spread. To everyone involved, thank you, and keep up the amazing work. To the people of Quebradillas, we love you. And this is the supposed hospital that was donated to them.
Right? Okay, now go to the next one. There's Anthony Gazzotti being... So Anthony Gazzotti is One Human Family.
Okay.
And Jonathan Fritzler. And you know what One Human Family is? Just another made-up organization. That's all it is. Just like Black Flag Operations. You know, we could do this all day long. They're not a nonprofit. They're part of Anthony. There's the same thing as Jonathan Fritzler. All of these are the same thing as Jonathan Fritzler. But they just give them all these different names, give them all these different supposed jobs they've done. Yeah. These people have done this. They're instrumental. They're the only ones that can help you.
Yeah.
Give to them. So that all of these fake rescuers can get their chunk of change, right?
Yeah.
They're basically legitimizing them, and then you'll see them later on going on to be heroes at some other thing and saying, remember me from Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico? I was on The Intercept. I was in that video with NPR. I was interviewed by this and that. And now I have something that I need you to GoFundMe. You know? So here's Anthony Gazzotti being hoisting some box around. He's moving things, taking the selfies, working hard.
Those are the supplies for the community.
What does it say on there?
It says, the man doing what he do, thanks to incredible support of Cavalry Chappelle and the efforts of our amazing team. The people of Quebradillas have somewhere to go to receive desperately needed supplies free of charge.
Yes, everything is free.
Everything's
Isn't
free.
that amazing?
Mhm.
Everything is free, but also you have to fund your own trip
Yeah.
and bring your own supplies.
Mhm.
But everything is free.
Mhm.
Nothing is free,
Yeah,
folks. Nothing
exactly.
is free. Here's the next one. Read that one for me.
Okay, in the past 7 days, QHFC Donation Distribution Center placed more than 10,000 desperately needed items into the hands of the beautiful people of Quebradillas, Puerto Rico. Thank you to the many organizations and individuals who have donated their time, talents, and supplies to make this center a reality.
And there's a picture of folks loading stuff onto a vehicle,
Yeah.
into a car. And then underneath that, there's some folks in a building, I presume to be the hospital.
That's probably the hospital.
And it's Anthony Gazzotti and some friends. I don't think that any of those people look like they're cleaning anything or working.
Nobody
on
looks dirty
anything.
or sweaty or
No one looks
unkept.
dirty or sweaty. I haven't seen I mean, at least at camp, you saw some people like poking a fire.
Yeah.
You know, everyone said, every single person that was out there, including Victoria Dargan's son, and almost every other sob story that I heard of people raising money afterwards included them tending a fire somewhere or chopping wood.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
Like, I was chopping wood. I mean, at least those people have the honesty of saying that, you know, they were doing some meaningful, useful thing at camp, even if they probably weren't doing squat. Unlike these frauds that tell you that they're lawyers or doctors or, you know, something, nurses and all this other stuff, when they're not, nonprofits, journalists, etc., when they're not, just to give themselves some kind of validation in order to go on committing frauds and taking money from folks. And I not only condemn the people doing that, I condemn anyone giving them agency, validating them, whether you're a news organization or you're an individual, because, you know, you may not know better, and some of you will make those claims when you're called out for supporting these phonies. But whether or not you, once you are told do something about it or don't do something about it, then you should also be held accountable for staying silent or supporting them, because you're facilitating giving someone agency so they can put other people in harm's way. I believe in second chances. I mean, we worked as a nonprofit. We worked on giving, you know, second chances, such as trying to get the vote back for former felons, for example, so that they have representation, because you shouldn't have taxation without representation, etc. But that, and giving a leadership role to a former kidnapper in, say, searching for missing and murdered Indigenous women, like apparently Mulaney Stoneman is claiming she wants to have, and is taking because it's her damn right.
Yep.
She's entitled to it. Without her ever having to atone, explain, or be confronted with the fact that she committed a crime against Mary Trujillo and Kathleen Bennett, is wrong. It is unconscionable. We should not stand for it. We should not allow the Brett Kavanaughs and the Trumps to get away with their crimes. So if we want to change that history, if we want to change that pattern, we need to stop it with every single one of these phonies. Here is the next post of One Human Coalition. There's Anthony Gazzotti posing in front of his truck, in front of his SUV, and he says what?
This man and his truck have been an invaluable asset to the free healthcare clinic and the team of people who are responsible.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Let me stop you right there. Is Anthony Gazzotti and his truck the new Warrior?
Yep.
Pony?
What's a war pony?
War pony of Puerto Rico?
I guess so.
Oh my God, these people. They just pick up the same story.
Oh yeah, they just recycle it and reuse it.
Jesus Christ.
And hundreds of thousands of pounds. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of supplies.
Really?
Hundreds of thousands. That's a lot. Have been transported via Anthony Gazzotti and his truck and have subsequently been placed in the hands of those who need them most. He was part of the first team to reach the clinic to clean it in preparation for what was to come, and has given himself and his heart to the people ever since. Because of his incredible efforts and the efforts of so many, we continue to make miracles happen every day, and will continue to spread love, poco a poco. Okay, there is with this truck. Where's all the people? Where's the hundreds of thousands of pounds?
You know, I don't
supplies?
know. I don't know the answer to that, but I can make a prediction about what happened with his truck and what happened with him. I predict it broke down somehow
and he
needed some
repair.
parts.
Yes.
And somebody needed, and they probably, the same organizations were like, please help donate to this poor man's cause.
That's right.
His truck was instrumental.
Yeah.
I can't wait for them to raffle it off for parts and for people to write their Indian names in it.
Yep.
Did you get some Taino names from people on the island that
There
you
you
can
go.
all
There you
call
go.
yourselves
Mhm.
and then, put inside of the war pony of Puerto Rico?
Yep.
These people.
Yep.
I swear to God. Oh my God. So next I have more of what Gazzotti is associated with. Here's a post about an emergency rally for saying no to Go Punch a Nazi rally.
Okay.
And look who is tagged in the Go Punch a Nazi rally, just so that we're clear about how fake and phony these Antifa people like Wes Clark Jr.'s buddy Evan Duke II, which we showed you was going to rallies, as you know, which have turned violent and deadly for some people. So Anthony Gazzotti posted this on August 16th, and he says, so much hate, tags Angie Spencer, Aubrey Peckham, the woman that, along with Ed Higgins and Mike Fassig and others from Activate Now, the same organization that Anthony Gazzotti went to Puerto Rico with, the same woman, the same organization that had just recently tried to cover up the rape and kidnapping of Lacey Jean Williams. That Aubrey Peckham is tagged in the post. And who else? Chelsea Lyons. Chelsea Lyons Kent is none other than the person that is accused of raping Carly Hammond, along with Ty Bayless, the cameraman you just saw with Naomi Const working for TYT in Puerto Rico. And who else is he associated with? Kelly Salazar. Kelly Salazar is the third person in the organization The Indian Problem, along with fake Miwok Desiree Kane, that is also associated with all of these people.
Yep.
I don't know who Daniel Gannetti is, but maybe we'll find out later.
Yeah, maybe.
And then here is another post of his. Don't forget who he is associated with. This is from that video we showed of you of Florida on September 19th. There's Luis Monsiváis, also accused of taking advantage of women. And the tags down there include Angelo Wolf, Terrence Daniels, Anthony Gazzotti.
Wow.
Next, we have that San Francisco group that we showed you. Well, Anthony was there too. This is a recent post.
Wow.
Desiree Kane, we showed you, was there. Who loves the picture? Who loves that picture, Duke?
Sadef
Bouyak Taman. And also, who's standing there screaming with this big gaping mouth with the red bandana on his head holding the corner of that flag? Who's that? Who's that dude? Huh? In this post, good reunion at San Fran rally by Anthony Gazzotti. Who's that guy with the beard and the red bandana or cap on his head? That's Angelo Wolf Sison from the Flint Flophouse.
Wow.
Hey, the gang's all here, Duke.
Yep.
All the phonies from Standing Rock and some new folks. All continuing the same sham in these disaster and in all of these opportunities. They're part of that whole climate justice, blah, 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 being promoted. It's disaster capitalism. It's true what Naomi Klein is saying. She's just not saying it about the right people.
Yep, exactly.
It's true what they're posting about, what Naomi Konst and Alex Cohen and Jonathan Fritzler and all these folks are talking about. But they're the ones doing the thing that they're complaining about. They're the ones taking advantage.
Yep, exactly.
They're the colonizers. They're the carpetbaggers. They're the disaster vultures. They're the frauds, the phonies, the fakes that are taking advantage of folks. And they're doing it while saying they're the heroes. Here is a post made by that group that they kept talking about in the video that Corey Fritz was praising so highly. They were instrumental, the Boondocks Canine Search and Rescue Unit, that does the CERT training for the Army and the police.
Yeah.
Saying they're going to Puerto Rico and they're connected to Anthony Gazzotti. See, it's just a big circle jerk here.
It is.
I want you to see how they're all just wind tunnels that echo each other. That's what they did at Standing Rock. Do you remember how they all just shared each other's media in this big wind tunnel of fake news information? Propping up all of the phonies, propping up all of the most horrible people that went out to Standing Rock to commit crimes against innocent people like Kathleen Bennett and her mom.
Yep.
Here is the Boondocks photo of the CERT training. Look at them doing their CERT training.
That's right.
Not a dog in sight. I don't know what the heck the CERT training, but you can see in the background that same poster, that same thing that has all Activate Now and the Everyday Hero Project and this or all of these organizations, none of which are real, many of which are defunct, none of which are real 501c3s, except for, as you know, the Aloha Project. Movement project of Jonathan Fritzler. And if you scroll down, you'll see that they're all just sitting there they got lunch pails in front of them. They're eating off of plates. They look like they're having a picnic. And, okay, there's a guy laying on the table, and what is it that they're doing to him? I don't know. It doesn't look like there's open heart surgery going on here, though. I don't see a dog. I don't see real medical treatment. Just because you pose in a selfie, call yourself a medic, and tell a nice story doesn't mean you're doing the real work. Here's another picture in which you see that this is Luis Vega, the guy that Corey Fritz and the director of the hospital, of the free clinic in Puerto Rico, claims is associated with this great organization that's doing all this work. Here's yet another one of their CERT trainings. They've got little kids at these meetings. I've seen 4 kids in these pictures that look like they're between the ages of 8 and 15.
That's right.
What the hell are they doing rescue and search training for? How can they search and rescue anyone?
They're waiting for the
this
doggies.
Looks like a sham to me if I ever saw one. And here's another picture of the Boondocks. What's the next one, honey?
That was it.
Oh, okay. Well, I want you to go to our next slide, which shows you what they're up to now. Oh, this is the Boondock Canine Search and Rescue Unit information that claims to have a headquarters in Florida. You heard Corey Fritz, the director of the hospital, say, well, technically, they're here in Puerto Rico. They've been here for a long time. This is where they are. They're based here now. They're doing all the work here. And they tell you that on this thing right here, Puerto Rico headquarters. Are there headquarters in Puerto Rico with a registration in Puerto Rico for this nonprofit?
Well, I really couldn't find it. What I did is I tried looking up the EIN numbers, and the first one that we showed on there, just to bring that back, the headquarters in Florida, Florida headquarters. Actually, I did find some records on them, and they are registered as a nonprofit in Florida.
Which is not the same as having a 501c3.
That's right, and it has all public information, the addresses, the officers. Luis Vega is in there, and Andres Santiago, and Juan Miguel Vega, blah, blah, blah. and they're board members and that sort of stuff. The thing that you need to realize, you can become a nonprofit in a state.
Yeah.
It costs like less than $100 in most states. And you are a
register
nonprofit corporation. That's the first step to becoming an actual nonprofit 501c3 with the IRS tax code. But
which legally allows you, if you're registered and up to date, to collect funds.
Yeah, tax deductible donations. If you give to
in the state.
No, in the state, you don't get a tax deductibility if you're a state nonprofit. You have to be federally recognized to get a tax deduction.
Okay, I wanted you to make that distinction because what I just heard you say sounded like you were saying that they could give a tax deductible receipt to someone that donated to them by just this filing.
No, that wouldn't be valid. If you got it audited and they look at the receipt, they say, well, this isn't a federally recognized 501c3. But you can become a nonprofit in the state. It doesn't mean that you're tax deductible. And my point is that these organizations look like they're incorporated in a state, and they have donation links, on their advertisement, but it doesn't mean that it's tax deductible. So I think they're running a scam, and I think these are all trademark names as part of that Aloha project.
That is
which is
based in Hawaii.
Hawaii, which you would have to donate to them directly. So I don't know where these buttons go, but it looks to me like they're just trying to get donations under the guise of being a nonprofit. No one's going to check. You're not going to find out till next year, and that's even if you get audited. So it's like it's unclear, if they're actually a truly tax deductible. I actually went to GuideStar and looked up these organizations and could not find them. It doesn't mean that they aren't, because you can keep on searching and maybe find them. But so far, all the places I usually look to see if the organization is legit, that most people usually do if they're going to make a tax deductible donation. They want to make sure the organization is legit. I haven't found the convincing information to say they are. So I'd say they're not.
And that is something that we all need to learn from. We need to not only check and verify and ask questions and make sure that we're not, and check the backgrounds of folks that claim to be lawyers or doctors or medics or paramedics or law enforcement, and especially in these situations like Standing Rock or a disaster relief area. We also have to do the same thing of nonprofit organizations, groups claiming to be media platforms, groups claiming to be medical clinics.
Mm-hmm.
You should check. You should know, because, folks, there's fakes out here performing God knows what on people and saying that they're helping them.
Yeah.
As I told you, they were doing that out at Standing Rock. These people filled out, Vanessa Bolin and others filled out fake reports that they then gave to the police to falsely imprison an innocent woman. They give statements that were used by social services along with Mulaney and Christina Hollenbeck to take away the rights of the family to be with the Mary Trujillo and give her to a stranger, Mulaney Stoneman, who tried to kill her. And they all worked together to do this and to hide it. And they continue to hide their criminality and their involvement in this. And finally, I wanted to show you where they are now, because they're literally in this new hurricane.
Oh.
This is from September 24th, Duke. Last month. It says Black Flag SAR will be offering remote assistance to organize with Lumbee tribe communities in Robeson, North Carolina, which was impacted by Hurricane Florence, with the goal of connecting them with other helping groups and volunteers. Our North Carolina logistics coordinator, Raven Dodson, will be taking point on this remote project with oversight by Jana. Why, that's Jana Stone, the ex-girlfriend or who knows, of Ed Higgins, of Activate Now, and all of this Jonathan Fritzler nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, working with residents on location in order to support actions that are for the sole purpose of assisting as needed. They're just here to help.
Yeah.
We will not be fundraising for Black Flag Search and Rescue, but will be sharing vetted events. These people don't vet a GD thing ever. Yeah. What the hell are they talking about?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be telling you of vetted events and charitable organizations that have chosen to participate. Okay, so they'll let you know who the good guys are.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Anyone who would like to participate in sharing will be able to do so from the group, and anyone that's interested in doing more by participating in planning can contact Raven Dodson, remember that name, or comment below to get in touch. All members will be vetted. No, I guarantee they won't, folks. These people haven't vetted anyone. They're literally taking former criminals like Menape Lemaire and making them headsmen at the camp.
Yeah.
This is one of the people that decided to have Kathleen arrested and her mother nearly killed, and eventually putting her in an early grave. These people are dangerous criminals. A former meth dealer that was jailed for a number of years. Menape, that dude. And of course, you know about the background of Mulaney Stoneman and Bill Runningfisher in this case and what the crimes were that they committed against Mary and Kathleen and Christina Hollenbeck and also the WPLC and all of these other folks. So let me just share with you that no, they won't. No, they don't. They're not vetted. He says, or they say, help us lend a hand to the residents in the Lumbee communities in Robeson County area. Stay away from those people.
Yeah, really.
We're looking forward to assisting North Carolina helpers. What if you don't? Why don't you stop trying to insert yourself where you aren't wanted or needed? It says, okay, there's Raven Dodson. Let's just notice some of the names here. Yep. Keep going because I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. But there's Janice Stone. So Janice Stone is commenting and she says, we'll see if we can pull together. John, FYI, Raven has been one of Black Flag Search and Rescue's main admin people for well over a year and is killing it on logistics for Florence.
Yeah.
And so Raven Dodson, Janice Stone, we've become friends on Facebook. They're friends. They're working together. And then there's, keep going. Raven tags someone named Alexander Cope. And then a Darcy Black tags Jana and Darcy talk. And Andy White tags Vanessa Boland. The very same Vanessa Red Bull Boland that I told you sent Mary Trujillo to a hospital to die. And had, when asked on several occasions by people at the camp to rescind her statement, to help, to tell the police the truth, to get in touch with the attorney in the Kathleen Bennett case, which she eventually and finally did toward the end when we had already taken her out of jail, when she was out on bail, I think, or around that time. That's when Vanessa Boland was finally shamed because we kept hunting her down. She was finally shamed into calling the attorney and telling him what she really knew. She had to be forced to admit that there was nothing wrong with Mary Trujillo when she, pretending to be a medical expert, sent her to a hospital, which she didn't need to go to, for elder abuse that did not occur. On a call which was about rape that she knew did not happen, as was the same testimony that was given to me by Jessica Piercy, a.k.a. 8-Ball, the other paramedic there on December 17th, when they kidnapped a woman, took her away from her family, and sent a woman that was a vulnerable adult with dementia that was a poor historian for herself to a hospital alone. Bill Runningfisher assaulted Kathleen Bennett, pulling her out of the ambulance so that they could send this woman to the hospital alone. Christina Hollenbeck and Mulaney Stoneman stalked the family, stayed at the hospital until they were able to secretly transfer guardianship to Mulaney Stoneman with the help of statements written by none other than this woman, Vanessa Boland, and many other people at the camp. To take a woman away from her family. That is what these people are capable of. And I demand that they be held accountable today for what they did. I'm going to be showing you a lot more on Puerto Rico and what are the repercussions of allowing criminals to get away with crimes unchecked. Thank you for being here with Cindy Gomez-Schempp
and Duke Gomez-Schempp
on a Mexican Crossing Lines. We've been talking about disaster, vultures in Puerto Rico, part 2 to come. Keep it on 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your station, to your airwaves. Good night.